Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to episode of the LightBringers podcast, because it is an episode. I don't know what episode number it is. It could be 28 actually, getting close to 30. But it is the LightBringers plays, and we are going to be playing the free elite specs that are out this week for the beta testingness. I'm excited to do this with some fellow awesome streamers and content creators. You'll be able to see pretty much right now. I'm hoping that works. They can't see you. It's working. I did it. Holy crap. It's like I've done it before many times and I have to redo it every time. I have with me this week Age, Kroof, and Valen. It is awesome to have you all here. I'm glad to have you here to talk about some awesome and not so awesome stuff, but that's okay. We're allowed to do that. That's okay. It's going to be critical, responsible, respectful. CRR. I don't know what that means. And redundant. Yes. And hopefully redacted content. Well, some of it. Yes. No, not from this. From this is fine. This is fine. Like redacted content from some of the classes. Or changes redacted. I don't know. Redacted was not the best word I could have used, so I just decided to do it. Age, tell me, what do you do? Where do you do it? Tell us about yourself. Oh wait, you know what? I've messed up. No one can hear you at all. No one can hear you at all. I just realized that no one could hear anything of what you said. At all. No one could hear any of you. So all of that was really, really fun until I finally fucked it up. All right, and no swearing. Don't swear. I'm going to start again. Technical fun stuff.
It's hot in here now. Ugh.
I'm going to start again. There we go. Look. Music. Nothing happened. Anyway, it was a bad intro anyway, so it's okay. All right, I'm going to start. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the first time I've introduced this podcast today. It is the LightBringers episode, I think 28. But it's LightBringers Plays with some amazing guests and probably some face palming from me, as unfortunately they couldn't be heard in the previous amazing intro, which was very good, and unfortunately you'll never hear again. I have Age, Kroof, and Valen. Valen is here again. Age is here again. Kroof is here again. Age, tell me some stuff about yourself. Kroof, no.
I'm just gonna make sure my mic's working. Hello.
Yes, it is. I can hear you.
All right, cool. Hi, I'm Age. I'm just like a small-time content creator. I play mostly Guild Wars 2 Thief. That's what probably most people know me for. I play other games too, and I'm part of a group called Mad Realms where we just hang out, have fun. We have a podcast called Talking Script, which is a Guild Wars 2 podcast every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And yeah, that's all I got.
Awesome. Follow Age. Do the things. Appreciate you being here, my friend.
Yeah.
Kroof.
Hi.
Is here again.
Yay.
Tell us about yourself. What you do it. Tell yourself for a sec.
Ooh, hi everyone. I'm really great at selling myself. So, you know how there's a game called Guild Wars 2? I kind of play it sometimes, and I also really enjoy making videos, so it kind of meshes almost perfectly. I can't sell myself too much. But I do a lot of YouTube stuff where I cover over news, elite specs, builds, feedback, ideas and philosophy and theory. And then now I'm also streaming here on Twitch Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And then Fridays, when I get asked to be a part of this absolutely lovely, immaculate, and holy stream podcast that is LightBringers. So thank you for having me.
Immaculate, yeah. Maybe not.
Holy.
Maybe not. Yeah,
holy.
I was going to say, there's a couple of words that maybe not so true there.
Dwayna, bless you.
And then we have Valen. Welcome back, Valen. It's good to see you. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, where you do it, all the things? It would be massively appreciated.
So I have a YouTube channel. I mostly do class guides. I like to experience the game in all roles. I'm a big role player. So yeah, just check my YouTube. It's just Valen. You'll find it. Just check out Valen on YouTube and on Twitch. I will usually just be theory crafting out new ways to play the game, and that's pretty much it.
Awesome. And as well, if you are here live, thank you very much for coming in. And we are live Fridays, 12 p.m. Pacific-ish. Sometimes it might be a bit later. It's never early. It's never early. It's never going to be early. It's just the way it is. And we do live watches of guild chats, of Guild Wars 2 streams, as well as playing the game, talking about the game together at the same time, as well as just having the good old-fashioned podcast and doing that kind of thing. But this week, we are talking about the Elite Specializations beta week, which is going to be all the medium classes, which is going to be Thief, Engineer, and Ranger. Of course, that's Mechanist for Engineer, Untamed for Ranger, and Spectre for Thief. Not saying Scepter, as we were talking about just before we got onto the screen, just before we got onto your screens or wherever you're listening or watching this.
The Scepter?
The Scepter. So what is that? Is that like, is that you guys were all talking about that being a purposeful thing? What was that about? Like thinking that that's a purposeful thing. That Scepter
like
and
ArenaNet designs their classes very cheekily, I guess, as you would say.
Yes.
Like the Berserker, people knew Berserker was going to be a tongue twister because it's like, well, is it a Condi Berserker or is it a Power Berserker? Is it a Berserker? And then now they're doing it again with Scepters, Spectre. So it seems pretty intentional that they're trolling us.
Soul Beast. It wasn't called this, but the mode is called Beast Mode. So they're on the nose. They know their comedy. They know their audience.
Fair. Well, what we're going to do today is we're not going to start with Thief. We are going to start with Untamed, because I think I was almost like, let's start with the Elite Specialization, maybe that's a little bit more. Yeah. Maybe tame is probably
well, let's put it this way: the spec that needs the most work.
Yeah. The spec that's probably the most is exactly.
Out of these three.
I mean, and it's worth saying, like, if you could pick. I mean, for me, like specifically, maybe we can go off of this. Is that, comparing, and we can compare into the Mechanist and Spectre later, but there's always this big thing of, like I say, that these specs should be, and I would hope they would be anyway, is that the Elite Specializations would come with an expansion should be something which is either makes you play the class completely differently or is so out there and different that it just feels special, just in the feeling of it. And I guess it doesn't always necessarily have to be that, and it can be that in the skill or the gameplay rather than the looks and the feel of the class when you're actually just walking around and playing it. Do you know what I mean? But like, what was the feeling of this? I don't know if anyone wants to chime in specifically first.
Maybe because I kind of just thought of something, because when you think about it, the thing that's really interesting about the new specs is how they have synergies with the old stuff. For like example, like with Mechanist, you had the explosions trait line could actually pump your mech up because it would have those synergies on the mech. And for Spectre, you have all this like, it's just completely different. So that's interesting in itself. But like with the Ranger, you have all this potential for synergy with the Beast Mastery trait line. You have like the Beast utilities, right? Like whenever you cast a Beast skill, which is normally your F2 on Core Ranger, it does like an effect. But they didn't really go into that. They just left it as the F2. So there was like the potential for it to have that synergy there. But then otherwise, it was not like there were no other synergies that they could have added, or there were no synergies that they could have added that they didn't follow up with, right? So it just feels like that's kind of the main reason why people say it's just like Core Ranger Plus. But they could have these like insane synergies that, you know, all the other elite specs have eventually gotten. So yeah, that's kind of why Untamed feels like it's maybe needs some work, because in essence, right, it just gives you more control over the pet, which is interesting and has a new playstyle to it, right? It's more combo oriented, right? Because your pet can CC for you and you can CC for your pet.
Mm-hmm.
And it is sort of like that bunny thumper playstyle because of that. But is that enough?
I would agree. My initial impressions of the Untamed after watching it, but then also playing it, it felt like, and I've heard that this is a generous number I'm going to give, but to me, it felt like an elite spec that was 70% complete. Like it passes, like it functions, and it can actively do things within itself, but there is still a decent portion missing on this elite spec. So yeah, we'll probably get into it a little bit later, but I would agree with Valen as well in the intricacies and how it ties to the other trait lines in the game.
Okay. Age, is there anything else you wanted to add? I don't know how much you've played of Untamed specifically, but
So when I saw like the preview, I thought the utilities were actually pretty good.
oh yeah.
But yeah, because like you have a shadow step, you have a invuln heal that you could play around with your pet health. And so I saw like the hammer had like CC and decent damage. So I'm like, oh, this is like Hammer Warrior, but you know, maybe like this has like a lot of promise because you have utilities for survivability as well as like the damage from the hammer. But from what I heard, it's more bunny than thump. So that's the perspective I've gotten. I haven't really played around with it, so
Amazing. I honestly, I've played it in PvP a little bit, but that's it. It's actually the spec I've played the least, so I'll probably be asking a lot of questions. I can give my like, I guess, first impressions and also just general feel. I guess I'm thinking about the content we go do right now as well. I actually do just a random Ascalonian Catacombs run through, just for fun, just to have it. It's always a good one to just bash through. I know it's not difficult, but it's more to show off the skills than.
What about
else.
COE?
Oh.
It is a little bit more interesting.
I mean, we can do that as well. I mean, chat as well. Do you want to pipe in on any of the content you want us to see us to do today? That would be good. Yeah, COE, we can do that.
Role-playing in Divinity's Reach.
Okay. Crucible of Eternity. Which zone is that?
Mount Maelstrom.
Yeah.
Oh,
My
right.
friends
Okay.
and I,
Yeah.
We
Where am I
went
going?
we went on our Mechanists, 3 of us, and we just Asura rushed through Crucible of Eternity.
Oh, did
Very
you?
on brand.
Oh, nice. That's super cool. Untamed is fine. Just fine. Okay. Stop saying.
Oh, raw. Wow.
Maybe not. I don't even want to go through that on my best fun day. Okay, we're gonna go for Crucible of Eternity. If you're listening on Spotify as well, actually Spotify now has a video feature, so you can press the little play button and you can actually watch this video on your phone, on your PC or whatever. So if you have always been listening, you can actually watch it now as well. So that's pretty sweet. That's pretty new. Yeah, we're just gonna go in here. Screw it, let's go. No, we don't need more party members. We're good. We have to go and enter story mode. Yeah, forgot about that. Anyway, it's fine.
Story mode's nice.
Any explanation why the black UI buttons? The black UI buttons.
you have cooldowns.
Oh, I know why. It's because on my on my screen, which we have before, there is an issue. There is some filter going on with chroma key. That's what it's about. Thank you for mentioning that, by the way. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, I did that before. That's because of the funness of having 2 PCs. Sometimes it works very well, and with other things, not so much. Thank you for mentioning that. Okay, so one thing about this as well is that I was like, Oh, we've still got this kind of unleash, right? And you can kind of go through and hit stuff if you want. It's fine. You don't have to wait for me for this. I'm just going to kind of talk about it.
Oh, I'm hitting stuff.
Yeah, go hit stuff. In terms of the UI, does it feel very close to the kind of Soul Beast as well?
Well, the F5 is actually the exact same
I mean,
outline.
it's pretty much the exact same thing as Soul Beast because you have the F5, and then when you merge with the pet, you just are using their pet skills instead of you using them. They're just using them itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now you have two pets, so and
but
then
also the art around the F5 is literally the same as the Soul Beast art.
Yeah, there is that as well.
it seems a little bit unfinished, not untamed.
Yeah.
Yeah. 7 is it's the groundwork is there, but it needs to be built up a bit more as an elite spec for an expansion. In terms of like you want something to feel like it's almost like a new class, somewhat like the Mechanist, where they give a feature to something or give a completely new feature to a class that doesn't have it or expand upon it greatly.
I think it does add quite a bit of like a new playstyle to players because a lot of people say, "Oh, Ranger is like this very easy class to play because it's AI," but this. I think Untamed is probably by far the hardest Ranger spec to play because it gives you more skills than any other build, and like timing is super important. Combos are important, so I think it does when maybe it's tuned up a little bit, it does add a lot of potential combos, and it probably does add that kind of like skillful ranger play that and it's kind of like a theme with a lot of the new specs is that they're just becoming harder and harder to play, if you guys have noticed that.
Yeah. What, with Ranger specifically or just generally all of the specs?
Like all of the specs, like Path of Fire made everything more powerful but also harder to play than the HOT ones, and then like these specs are even harder and more kind of like convoluted.
I wouldn't agree. I haven't felt that. I felt that in terms of power, in terms of balancing, they've been much more almost down to earth. They're not necessarily going the way of Path of Fire, where they just put a lot of potency on the skills, which I prefer in terms of a balance. But I haven't felt that these are more. I don't know. I don't know what the word. I don't know. I don't know the general vibe. And I would say that Path of Fire's elite specs were. I'm only thinking about Firebrand and Scourge, so maybe you're right. I guess Weaver was
Firebrand
pretty complex.
was absolutely harder. Willbender dials it back a little bit. Warrior Bladesworn is absolutely harder than everything else, right? You've got, I mean, they're gonna bring weapon swap back, and not weapon swap, but allow you to go back to your weapon, and then you've got to like use like blinks and stuff. I think Bladesworn is absolutely harder. It's got like all this like ammo stuff. What is the Revenant? The Revenant is, well, the Alliance stance is like these flip over skills. That's insane. Like the decision making is cool, right? But it's difficult. That's what I'm trying to get at here. There's more decision making in a lot of these specs, and I like that. I like that there's decision making because it's more meaningful. But it's very difficult to make something have choices, but also make it accessible.
That's a good point. Actually, accessibility is a big thing actually as well. I mean, it's not too bad. At least people can like bash buttons, I suppose, and that's one fun thing they can do. But Age, I feel like you're about to say something.
Yeah, like, oh well, Val, do you feel like it's hard enough that like open world PvE like it matters that much? Because I feel like for most people, like open world PvE players won't mind it as much just because it's open world PvE. You could play pretty much whatever you want. But for like harder content like raids and stuff, I think it would be more interesting for those players because it's more challenging in that respect.
I'm trying to think of like, because in open world PvE, people just like to like they don't like to die, right? So I think there's like definitely. I mean, I die sometimes in open world PvE. I don't think it's that easy to do it solo. I
Mhm.
think that there's definitely a lot of people that they'll struggle in some situation. They'll die, and they'll come back and they'll have a greater challenge to learn the class. But are they learning the content or the class, right? In that case, probably learning the class. So I think, yeah, the accessibility of the class is probably relevant there.
Okay, that makes sense actually.
Yeah, I was thinking about engineer actually, and the engineer's definitely gotten harder, but I think engineer's now gotten easier. Probably, it's just a different style of play. It's more of a different style than a difficulty thing. Because I think
think with-
The
Holosmith,
Holosmith was definitely the
Yeah.
hardest version.
heat management is the main difficult thing in that class, to be honest, and not
with
dying in
every
PvP.
expansion, there's kind of a peppering of this elite spec is very complex, like Weaver, and then we see easier things or elite specs that don't require as much mastery in like playing the entire keyboard. It's a bit more straightforward.
Yeah, and I think like you're talking about in chat as well. Obviously easy and difficult to play is very subjective depending on who you are and what you enjoy. But I think we're talking about very generally, like the general feel. I think there's a slight agreement between all of us. So I think there's specs where you can face roll the keyboard a lot more, and you can put out the basic stuff of what you need to do, i.e. Scourge, i.e. Firebrand,
think about
and stuff like that.
Elementalist, for example. Like with Ellie, you have Tempest, which is,
Yeah.
I think, really good design because you still have that decision making, but it's really simple. It's like, do I want to overload or do I not want to overload, right?
Mhm.
And it's really just one button press. It's accessible, but it's also kind of like it scales it up. Whereas Weaver is like, okay, we're going to give you 70 more skills and you got to decide which one you want to do, and then Catalyst is even, like, do you want to do like 17 combos in the Jade Sphere or whatever? It's definitely, there's value in simplicity, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why I like Scrapper. I think Scrapper's a really simple class. Like, I think it's a really simple spec, but there's so many different ways that you can play it and be effective with it, and that you can make it more difficult, I suppose, in a way. But it's not like you have to press a million buttons to get there. And I don't know. I think Scrapper is probably one of my favorite. I mean, I know it's NG, but like, it's probably one of my favorite classes along with Reaper in terms of like, being able to give an idea to the player and to be like, this is the theme, this is how you play it, and this is, I feel like in terms of, I don't know what I'm trying to say, communicating. I guess if I'm a Reaper, I know what I'm going to be doing. I know what the main, I'm going to be killing crap. It's going to die. And it's kind of got this theme of like, it's a Reaper, it's a Necro. It's a player knows exactly what they're getting from it. And I feel like as well, maybe even like Heart of Thorns, like I still feel like Heart of Thorns I was talking about this on stream the other day in terms of rating each expansion's elite specialization and how players could like access each one and like the ease of them, also just the general, I guess, gameplay and experience. And still, I think Heart of Thorns, like for me personally, I know we're going way off topic here, was probably the best one so far, even including this.
In terms of accessibility, you said?
Yeah, accessibility, communicating like roles for players, like even just roles for players, and just different kind of, I guess, if I think about each class, like I think about Ranger, right? Druid was like a proper healer, was it just gave you this transform that was very cool. Scrapper for NG was like a proper support build, right, initially, and I guess not everyone plays this support, you can play in damage, but like, in Inference, it was like bots that kind of helped you out. It was very NG themed. Ellie was flipping Tempest. Tempest is awesome. I think Tempest is great. For many reasons, because you can play, support, damage now, obviously because of balancing and everything else. But like, I know it felt like Berserker for Warrior. Thief, I don't know. I guess Daredevil was still used today, obviously, as well. I'm not sure. I mean, you guys can talk about Daredevil if you want. I'm not sure how you enjoy it. as a
It
spec
was
for Thief.
basically Acrobatics 2.0. So.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that might be the one where I'm like, in terms of like Path of Fire, I guess there was tons of fun specs, but it didn't feel as solid as Heart of Thorns as we've gone on. It feels less. Someone said in the chat the other day, they said that it feels like they've almost, I think it might have actually been Valorant. They've run out of ideas or something like that. I was like,
it sounds like something I said.
yeah, I think it was you. And like there is that feeling there. Especially because things are kind of crossing over now. Like, you know, I mean, there is some argument, I guess, to Thief and Spectre, and I guess as well, and maybe some of the names of
and
things.
Like the roles of specs as well, because like you want to diversify. It's like, well, if there's only 3 different roles in raids, or there's really only 2 raid roles, right? Support and DPS.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, you now have support on Thief. What do you do next?
That's it, exactly. Like it's. And also, like
it's harder to keep creating specs. Is I think what it is like the first specs, they had so much room to do stuff, and so naturally they would be better. But as time goes on and they bloat the class pool, right? It's just naturally harder to keep putting out good stuff.
Like Ranger, like this spec, like pushing, I guess, like as an example, trying to bring it back to Untamed, because I feel like there's almost like Untamed is just got so much wrong with it. I feel like there's not much excitement there, but I'm going to try and bring it back to Untamed. But like Untamed is like, it's just another damage spec, right? At the base core level, it's a damage spec, right? It's Soul Beast, like it's just another, like it didn't. Is it going to bring anything new and different to the class? Probably. I mean, in terms of like play style, maybe a bit.
It's
but
probably the really unfortunate aspect, and I don't think it's the fault of the elite spec, but the fault of designing endgame content. Because in PvP and War vs. World, this could be a really strong bruiser, but in PvE, bruisers are not desired in most cases because you just want that either damage or healing.
Mm-hmm.
But if I really think that Untamed could be a really solid tank if endgame focused a bit more on that. I think having that archetype of a really defensive elite spec that focuses on break bar damage and defensive cooldowns could be really interesting, but there just isn't any need for it.
No, you're right, actually, completely. There's a trait in here. When you're talking about that, there's a trait, isn't there, that basically is it that it gives outgoing isn't like there's the incoming damage is reduced on you.
Yeah, the minor when you're unleashed.
Yeah, that kind of actually makes sense. It's like a tank spec because it has so much like CC synergy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why would you ever need that?
That's the thing.
Where would you ever need that?
Does that infer maybe that I mean, I've always thought that there could be a reason, like, you know, when Rev came out and they had it gave us the new condition. It gave us Taunt, you know. Taunt was a new condition that came with Heart of Thorns. But then I was like, that must mean, surely, that there's going to be a tank role that's going to be needed in maybe Fractals, maybe Raids. There was, but the way Guild Wars 2 does it is it's toughness. It doesn't matter. Like, you know, toughness is your Taunt, effectively. It's a stance. It's a stat, which is quite interesting. I'm wondering whether or not, like, I'm hoping, and I think we're going to talk about this later now, and I know No Crew's going to talk about it for sure, especially with the latest video, which is I've got to get watched, actually, in terms of roles and different ways that Guild Wars 2 is kind of implementing stuff. There could be inference into maybe what strikes are going to be like in End of Dragons, which I'm kind of hoping for, actually. I kind of want to see... I want some Trinity done content. I know that may sound like really old school and boring, but like I actually kind of genuinely want to see some more specific roles. I think at times I'm actually kind of excited for that to maybe be a thing, and I don't know if that's unfortunate or sad or bad or whatever. I mean, I like Guild Wars 2 raids. I think they're very unique, but at the same time, how do we get through this door? I can't remember. And so,
yeah, we don't go this way.
We don't go this way. Okay, cool. I don't know. I mean, with the spec, I think you're right. I think there's a specific. This is a bruiser slash. I guess in terms of PvP, I was thinking very side noder esque, but then I was thinking, you know what, Druid and sometimes Coral Ranger, like as a I've seen Rangers been doing that role for so long as well, and I don't know, like there's a lot of, in terms of the utilities, actually, in terms of the look of the class and the feel of the class, the Unleash stuff, I'm kind of green, I guess. I'm a little bit confused about the general look of it is interesting. I'm not sure how everyone else feels about that. I feel like sometimes,
Yeah, the animation is like kind of just looks like gas or something. I don't know.
It's a little gaseous.
It's supposed to be a poison cloud.
yeah, I mean, my stream has a different word for it. Fart cloud is normally used quite often.
I've never heard of that term before to describe this elite spec. Wow.
Yeah.
How crude and crass.
They are crude and crass people, obviously. Wow, do you have the legendary Warhorn? Bloody hell, alright. Jesus. My good
Who
lord.
doesn't have a legendary warhorn?
That's amazing. But like, yeah, I think that I don't mind the whole Unleash, like I don't mind the green kind of transform a little bit. I think it's very, I think you should be able to have the option of that in your settings sometimes. I think like transforms and stuff like that. The green just coverage over my character is weird anyway, still I think that's a very, very odd thing. But like the general look and feel, it doesn't feel very different. It feels a bit gross sometimes. It does feel like a lot of green flipping smoke everywhere, which is just kind of weird. The Unleashed factor on the pets, the whole pet UI is just, it's, you know, we're going to talk about this when we get to Mechanist. You can't recall your pet because there's no keybind for it. Obviously they know this. Obviously it's going to hopefully be fixed because they'll just add, you know, 2 more keybinds, I guess, for return and also guard / avoid combat on the UI. That's very important. That's added not only for Ranger but for also for you know, for the Mechanist spec, because having your pet not being able to return to you, or your mech, like your mech, is a big issue.
I think it's pretty safe to say that all the like bugs and stuff, we can kind of just assume that they're gonna fix those,
so.
right? And
So.
allowing you to actually play the class without it, you know, breaking is probably something they're working on. But I think like one of the like bigger issues is like where the identity is, like it's kind of like when you're writing something and you've got the thesis there. It's like, okay, I have a purpose here, but it doesn't really show itself, like it doesn't take form yet. It feels like that's what the Untamed is. It's like they heard all the people were saying, oh, we want to have more control over our pets, and so they allowed you more control over your pet. But then it's like, well, you have that, but now what role does it play? What like purpose does it have? And it seems like they're still like in the process. Well, it just seems unfinished, right? They're still in the process of creating the spec. They have an idea of what is needed. Like they have the problem, and then they have the solution, but they need to get you the solution in like a playable, fun format, you know, like, because it's a video game, right? That makes sense. Like you want to have all these things because it's a super complex world, but at the end of the day it's a video game, so it has to also work out and be fun and interactive at the same time.
And touching on the UI, it's also like the elite specializations profession mechanic. I don't think giving more agency and access via the F1, F2, and F3 skills is enough of a profession mechanic. I really thought that was going to be on the entirety of Ranger, because when Rangers were saying that like they wanted more control over the pet, they didn't mean in an elite spec. They were talking about just like in general. So it feels a little weird that they are kind of selling the elite spec idea as actually being able to control your pet's abilities, when it really feels like that should be on Ranger to begin with. The unleashed mechanic of giving them new abilities, I think, is really cool, but it does feel a little weird that they're all the same, but there are different archetypes for pets. So why is my stout pet using, in its unleashed form, using all the same abilities as a supportive pet or a ferocious pet? I don't think they went they didn't go enough in that direction. of what it means for that pet to be unleashed.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are they all? Is it all the same skills? It is literally the same
Yeah.
skills, isn't it?
Yeah, that
But-
would that would be one cool way that they could like change it, right? Like give the pet its normal skills and then give it different skills based on what type of pet it is when it's unleashed.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, not even the is it not even the family of pets
They're just
different?
all
No,
the
it's
same.
just
They're
the
literally
normal.
all three the same.
That's weird. Like, it should be a family thing at least, right? It should definitely be. I understand, like, you know, it not working for, you know, because there's so many pets to do it for, but like families wise, I feel like there's a family, because it doesn't it just take away the kind of individuality of each pet and what they kind of do as well.
Well, you still get that with the access, but I would be in favor of actually doing it based off of archetype, a system that they introduced in Path of Fire. It's almost like, why not expand upon a system that you implemented in an expansion to go in and categorize each pet as serving a specific role in combat.
I mean, we've had that issue in the past with things being implemented into the game that slowly get kind of phased out or ignored or left alone in the side and in the corner to itself to be yeah. We've definitely had that issue before, I guess. So I guess maybe that's I mean, that's good. I mean, I would like to see more stuff come back that we've seen in the past for sure. Is there
It's not
anything
like something that's bad to reuse. Like people
No.
complain about reused assets, but at the end of the day, it's good when they do that a lot of times.
if it's something which
Saves a lot
is
of dev time.
yeah, exactly. If it's a good idea that's actually going to bring some kind of, it's logical for that to be in the game now. Maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it didn't make sense at the time, but you know, that makes some sense. Is there anything else? Is there anything on Untamed? Like, I mean, I know it's probably the spec. We're not all. None of us are specifically really like main ranger players, but I know we all played it to a little bit. I probably played it the least. I don't know. Is there anything on Ranger that feels specifically, and I'm sorry, Ranger players, if you wanted some really in-depth, Untamed talk, like you may not get that specifically.
Hey, I'm here. I can do it. Have faith in me.
I mean, I'm not-
Valen, I think Valen played as well.
Yeah, but like I'm talking about like like, you know, when a main is not like, I know when something's
A
your
little
main.
baby in the manger.
What are
when
you
something's
looking
your
for?
main.
Like secret text or something?
No. What I'm talking about is is like a main thing. So like I watched Muckluck's video, for example, and he's a ranger main. Like like when you're a main of something, when something's your main character and the elite spec is something which you're maybe, like for example, the title of his video, which has over 20k views by the way, is Untamed Disappointment, something like that. Like he is not happy, but he gives good like feedback as to why.
It was pretty good advice, suggestions.
Yeah. It was really good. So like, because like that's like a main perspective. Like he plays it in every single, you know, inference of the game. Like every single mode. You know, I mean, just talking from a main perspective. Like we're all here. Like we play probably Thief and Engineer maybe more than we play Ranger. But like, I mean, I play Druid quite a lot. So it's like, I guess, and so does Criff. So like, we do play Ranger. It's not that. I'm not saying that everyone's rubbish at talking about Ranger. That's not what I'm trying to say.
I mean,
I'm
hey,
not
I
gonna
might main
dig a
Guardian.
hole.
I can still have trash suggestions.
Yes, of course. And so can I. Of course, we can all have feedback about the things. But I genuinely think like, I just when we saw it, I was just like, like when we just saw the preview, when I kind of jumped on the class, when I was looking at the abilities, when I looked at the traits, it wasn't like anything jumped up at me, and I was just like, yeah, this is going to be awesome and fun to play. Where the hell are we going as well, by the way? And H, you
Valen
please
and I are
talk.
doing a boss. It's okay.
Okay, I don't know where I'm going. Go on, H, talk. Sorry, buddy.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just like, so when I saw the Untamed preview that they put on YouTube, I looked at the comments for some reason, and I saw a bunch of people were saying, "Oh, thank you. We're finally gonna get like Beastmaster." And I'm like, I've never really thought about it until the fact that they've never actually had the ability to like utilize their pet a lot.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I talked to one of my ranger friends, and I showed like I linked him the videos and stuff like that, and he wasn't too impressed, honestly.
What with just the preview, sorry, or with the actual general, the whole everything, like playing it and then
I think the preview, I think in particular. I don't know if he like predicted the future or what, but like, yeah. But it felt like they were trying to do kind of like a Hammer Warrior for Ranger in that respect, and to be like a like I feel like the identity is supposed to be like a frontline damage bruiser like Crew said, but it feels like janky, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Is it that? So you think like more? There is this focus. I mean, like, it's just odd because like the whole Untamed thing, and like I feel like the name is a really good indicator of what this spec means and how this spec went. You know. And yes, I don't like the name Untamed. I think the name isn't great. But I also think the spec, in terms of the spec, maybe even the name, or even because we've got it last with the other two classes, you know, maybe there's something about how maybe they were stuck on Ranger. I would love to hear their, like, what they were thinking with Ranger, whether or not like they can kind of were a bit more lost on Ranger, not really sure what to do. If that was one of the classes where they were like, you know what, we've kind of got these roles for it, you know, it's got Druid, it's got this, that, the other is kind of already tanky. What weapon does it have? How can we base this around the weapon more? You know, hammer, tanky, melee combat. You know, maybe they were genuinely stuck with this class. Maybe that's, you know, something I don't think they would ever specifically.
Like, what do we give it essentially?
Yeah, like what is it going to be?
Big problem though in just the philosophy of designing, because right now it seems like they only design in at least for PvE, in an area of it either does damage or it does healing. Then again, within those two categories, there's many different subcategories. And I think that's also another problem, that they don't specialize. Like with Mechanist, if you're a support, you're not just a boon support, you're also a barrier support and have healing applications. When in reality, you could just be that really strong boon support and fill that specialty.
Mm-hmm.
But they do kind of operate in this kind of binary between like damage or support. And I think having that missing bruiser spec in PvE, especially that tanking aspect, does inhibit more design. Now in PvP and World versus World, it often feels a lot better, like Spellbreaker, and going with that interrupt focus and that boon destruction and you know, controlling the player character, because you can do that. But you can't really control bosses or in an endgame scenario as easily as you can in competitive zones. So it is, I feel like when they announce bruisers, it's always like, oh, that's a PvP spec or World versus World spec. It's almost completely written off in PvE.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we got through the dungeon as well, at least as well. But yeah, I get what you're saying, Kroof. Yeah. That is true. And I think, you know, based on, it's interesting because the game, you know, in its inception, I think was very much focused around the PvP combat and like the PvP modes and whatnot as well. Definitely in its inception, like speaking to like devs and people, like when the game was launched as well. I remember when before launch the combat was like, they sold the PvP pretty hard. They showed it was Clock Tower, back the old school Clock Tower, and they had tournaments back before it even launched. It was Gamescom. They were talking about the combat, you know, heavily based around PvP, World v World. And then PvE was obviously like a main part of the game as well, but they wanted this like, you know, very mobile combat, less cast times, less standing around, more, you know, very action oriented. And, you know, they got that in the end. But now I think like, yeah, when I think sometimes there are definitely specs where you're like, feels like it could be very good in PvP or World v World, like you're kind of saying, but then where is it in PvE, and how many people, where's the population that plays this game specifically, where is that most of that population based, and then are they going to enjoy this? But I think generally everyone is kind of like, and there's responses in chat as well, are like, it's kind of meh, it's kind of like, you know, I mean if you're a Ranger player, and even if you're just like looking at it just for aesthetically, and like you look at the Ranger, I mean, look at this thing. Look at Bob right now. A great name, by the way. The mech.
Thank you.
I'm Untamed. And all right, okay, I look cool because I got my legendaries. But like, like yeah, I look pretty awesome.
So you're saying it lacks kind of like a distinctive look.
Even that, just like it, just like it, I'm not saying it has to have that, but
or
like,
or a vibe.
yeah, like just something where it's just like, you know, NG got a massive mech thing where its arms change. You know, I'm not saying that it has to have something very visual all the time, but like something that isn't
Yeah.
a poop cloud.
So it's
You know
kind of
what
like
I
how
mean?
Daredevil is. Like Daredevil is like central around dodge, which is a mechanic that already exists, but you have variants and dodges which look and feel different.
Mhm.
Mirage has was kind of like I guess a Condi dodge. I don't know how to specify it exactly, but it had that mechanic with the purple crystal orb things
Yep.
as well.
And it has like the sound is very the sound is different as well. The movement of the axe is very good, like, you know, the actual animations and everything else, very, very awesome. You know, the general feel of Mirage is quite cool. I can't play Mirage for the life of me. I'm just crap at Mesmer, but like unless it's like a core power fun build with like power block, random old school build. But like, yeah, exactly. Like, you know, I mean, the mech's quite cool for NG, and there's some very different. It's just completely different kind of gameplay there. Like, I manage my mech quite a lot sometimes, and like with Thief, you know, I mean, we're going to talk about Thief. I mean, Val and AG play that a lot, and I know Kroof has fallen in love with it as well. And you know, I played him PvP the other day, and like I hadn't played it, and Kroof kind of gave me some tips on the build, and I was like, damn, this is so fun. But this is like, I'm just not good at Thief. I'm just not good at nipping in there, getting some damage and coming out. I can rotate on it because I know how to rotate, but I can't be effective in fights because I can't just nip in there. I'm more of a bruiser player. I'm more of like a support player. And I can play Thief now. You know, I can, because I've got that mentality for support, and I've got that mentality of, you know, managing a team fight and rotating in and out and being able to be present in a fight and not get blasted with, you know, AoE damage. So it's like the role completely changed, and it doesn't have to be like that every single time, but Soul Beast being the last spec that we had for them, I'm just like, this is so close. It feels like, it just feels a lot tankier, and I'm just like, the difference is the weapon. Yeah, I don't know. And the traits don't feel. I mean, we could go through the traits, but I don't know if it's even
I
necessary.
like the traits.
You do? You do?
I
Is
think
there
the
anything?
traits actually
Which
give
ones?
it a really nice identity. Really, the
Okay.
Grandmasters.
Okay.
The top Grandmaster and bottom Grandmaster. Those are probably the most spec
Isn't
defining.
bottom Grandmaster just damage?
It's damage and movement speed. So it's like, it's kind of a very simplistic one that people enjoy. Everyone loves
So
getting a little bit
how
more
is
damage.
that different?
It's not
Because
different though,
it's-
is it?
Well, it's not different, but it does kind of emphasize the play style of the pet and you, because it's almost like Strength of the Pact, where if your pet deals damage, you gain the buff. If you deal damage, the pet gains the buff. So it's a matter of like upkeeping both of them at the same time and
That's
making
it,
sure
Kroof.
like they don't die.
You said it though. You were like, it's like this. So they've already kind of got it.
Well,
I mean, it gives the
Okay.
pet more damage,
Damn
and
it.
then you could take marksmanship and then beast mastery, and then the pet would have the most damage.
Yeah.
But it is essentially just a DPS modifier, right?
yeah.
Which, you know, every class needs, but Soul Beast has that.
But in
Archbishop
terms
has
of
that.
the top one, that
Yeah.
one's the most interesting to me.
Disabling a foe reduces the cooldown of all your equipped skills. See, that I kind of like that. Okay, that's kind of a typical Guild Wars 2 one. Like, that's like, do a thing, specific thing, it activates this specific thing, rather than here's your stat
It's like chaotic interruption on Mesmer.
Okay.
The Chaos
Yes.
Grandmaster.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. I like that. Yeah.
And it's super strong in PvE. I think it like
But-
drops down by 4 seconds.
Oh yeah, it's
But
cooldown for
2 seconds. So this is something that I always like have an issue with on Rangers. Like the quick draw trait is, you know how quick draw works. It reduces the cooldown on all your weapon skills or your next weapon skill after you use it. But generally,
Yeah.
what are you going to be using that on? Maul? Well, Maul already gets reset when you use the Maul Hill Bash Maul combo, so it's like you don't need what's it called? You don't need quick draw for that.
Mhm.
And then like what is the trait that we're talking about now going to be used for? It's like you're going to swap to the weapon, use a CC skill, and then you're only going to recharge one skill for 2 seconds. Like, or you use all your skills and then you use the CC, but since you've used all your skills, you don't want to be in that weapon set anymore because you don't have it. I mean, you reduce their cooldown by
Actually,
2 seconds,
no.
but you still
You
have no cooldown, so you're going to
you
swap off
really
that weapon anyways.
I don't think you might not understand the trait. It's not just one skill. It's every
Right, it's
single
all
skill
of
you
them,
have
but
for 4
to get
seconds.
more value on on those skills, you have to use them, right? And if you're reducing the cooldown by 2 seconds, is that going to be enough for
It's
you to
4
keep
seconds
them
in
all?
PvE, but in PvP
Oh, it's
it's
4
2
in
seconds.
PvE.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
it's 4.
also with the elite skill gives you a massive 50% damage reduction with multiple boons. And that skill in and of itself reduces its cooldown if you successfully strike.
Is it
So
all
you can get
skills? When you say
you
equip
can use your
skills, is it
It's
utilities
all
though
the
as
skills
well?
that you're currently equipping, right?
every single skill from your weapon to your utilities, and it might interact with the pet. If it doesn't, I think it should.
It's
Huh.
pretty
That's
good.
all utilities? Okay.
It's
Because
every single
see,
skill.
this is the
That-
thing.
yeah.
This is the thing that's confusing because I feel like that's just that's a tooltip explanation thing. Like it says equipped skills, and when
It
I say
really
when I
isn't,
think
because most of the
equipped,
time
It's just me not
traits
reading.
traits typically say like will reduce the cooldown of your elite or reduce the cooldown of your
Yeah.
utility.
yeah.
So the fact that they say like just reduces cooldown is like,
I guess
yeah, it
it
doesn't
should be
make-
assumed, then I suppose. Although maybe maybe because I'm confused, maybe they need some. They need to just do it for
maybe
me
the
specifically.
fact that confusion occurred means that it should be more
There you go.
easily
There you
more
go.
readily explained.
Because I guess maybe I don't see that much on NG or some of the classes that I play specifically. I feel that some of their wording isn't great on some of the traits anyway, but that's another topic. Okay, yeah, I like that. I do like that trait. I agree. I think that is pretty cool. But
I will say it's flavorful, but is it going to necessarily be the most useful thing in areas like endgame, like strike missions?
In PvE, you definitely won't use that still. You'll use
Open
the
world,
trait.
you can get a lot of fun in it in open world. I've definitely been able to just like continually just spam all of my skills.
If you're perma-stunning mobs, you probably need to get reported for bullying because
I know
Ah!
I'm bullying the Vine Tooths and Heart of Thorns.
That's right. Yeah, I was gonna say you're definitely doing that for testing. I mean, I can see the kind of use in PvP. That's gonna be great. Like that's gonna be awesome. Especially versus classes that don't, because not everyone's taking stun breaks and everything else all the time anyway. But then again, if you disable someone anyway, you're gonna be getting those cooldowns back. Don't 1v1s on side points. I can see that being pretty damn awesome. You want to go into Explorer? Well, I'm probably going to switch classes now anyway. Okay. All right. Is it that? So the trait below that is just restorative strike. So percentage of your strike damage you do heals you. I mean, that could again PvP be a great thing, but otherwise, I mean, survivability.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the Grandmasters are okay.
But
I'm
all
not
the
a
other
huge
ones,
fan.
they're not really that okay. If you think about it,
I
like there's one Condi cleanse on swapping weapon or swapping unleash. There's blind. There's like a single blind when you use one of the skills. There's a boon rip if the enemy is CC'd. It's like very conditional. Yeah, it just feels like all the trait decisions don't feel too meaningful or too impactful. And that could be a tuning thing for sure. Like if you swap the unleash and it gives 2 Condi cleanse, that could be a lot more effective. Or even 3, probably not.
And particularly with restorative strikes or whatever the Grandmaster middle one is.
That's the one.
I actually don't think that's strong enough, nor does it really feel like a Grandmaster. I feel like because this spec is so focused on the pet, it would actually be maybe more interesting and worthwhile if your strikes also healed the pet.
Yeah,
because it just heals you. And a lot of abilities, the healing ability in particular, will damage your pet. So I think if you take that, it could then maybe be like the system where your
Yeah,
pet
synergy.
lowers its damage, and then you heal it back up with your strikes, etc., etc., etc.
That is interesting, actually.
That's a pretty good idea, yeah.
Yeah, because like, yeah, because it feels very much like you and your pet are separate. I mean, I know one thing is unleashed and the other, but maybe even if it's just like, you know, a percentage of the strike damage you deal heals the unleashed. Do you know what I mean? So at least you could switch it between yourself or the pet. Like at the very least, that would be cool. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Look at the pet. The pet is all just kind of gaseous and stuff. It's kind
It
of
looks
cloud
like
around
in
it.
Heart of Thorns, Living World Season 3, it looks like when Garm comes back and he's all stinky. He's a stinky boy. We have to wash him.
Yeah.
Just looks like your pet has to be washed all the time.
Your character has the stinky cloud, but you've also got the green kind of over the kind of it's not transform, but it's more of like an infusion kind of thing, I guess. Whereas the pet doesn't have that. And I mean, I guess that's harder to do, but I feel like that should be a thing. For sure. Okay. Well, anyway. I think we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on. I'm gonna change class. Let's go and do Spectre. Do some Spectreness. The character looks very awesome. Just FYI, if you're watching the video. Anything anyone wants to say about Untamed? I know, like, it doesn't fill us with much excitement, maybe at times.
I mean, I guess maybe a positive note. I could leave us on a positive note.
For sure, we'll do it.
There is like really cool combos that you can do with the port, like the ability to port. I mean, I guess you could port on Soul Beast, but that new utility, the one that you port to the target, it's like a 20-second cooldown if you hit with it, 40-second cooldown if you don't hit. But it allows for interesting chasing options because you can essentially port to the target and then swap pet, right? And when you swap pet, the pet goes, it swaps on top of you, so you port the pet with you, and you can do like these CC combos where you like port on top of the target, CC them, and then you swap pet, and then the Drake is right on top of them, and we all know the Drake hits really hard, and you can do combos like that, and I guess that's pretty interesting.
That does sound
not the most interactive to play against, though.
The cantrip that converts conditions needs to be a stun break, though. I don't know why it's not.
That's another thing that's kind of interesting is there's so many stun breaks on Ranger, but there's a lack of them on the Untamed.
Okay. Let's leave it. Cool. There you go. We can leave it. Cantrips. we can leave it with that.
We didn't leave it on a positive note.
Was that? It was fairly. It was okay. We'll go with it. That was an okay note. Let's go to a note on the. Let's go to a completely different piece of sheet music. Then I guess let's go to a different song and an energetic, infusing melody of awesome is what I'm gonna say with the Spectre, which we got very excited about last week on the podcast as well, and I know that a lot of people are enjoying this. We've got two people who main Thief as well. We've got someone else on the phone. Sorry, we got loads of stuff going on. I mean, I know Criff is enjoying this as well, and I haven't played it as much as all of you, but I have played it a lot in PvP, and it's been a lot of fun. We've I don't know what to select here. We've what were your first impressions when you jumped in on this age? Like, what did you feel like when you jumped in on Thief and you were like, oh, Spectre, what's this going to be about? How did you feel when you saw maybe the trailer? How did you feel when you first jumped in this week on the beta spec?
So I thought we were getting like a blood mage. Basically, I already knew it was going to be Condi because it was the one thing that we were really lacking in terms of damage type that wasn't like a gimmicky build outside of Pistol Dagger. But I also thought it'd be cool if we got like a damage support build, which is technically what we got when we were doing single target and you're in the Shadow Shroud.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd get like a Necro Shroud type of mechanic, which was very interesting. Overall, I think it's pretty good. I think it's very versatile in terms of Condi damage, and the support is interesting because I played it exclusively in World vs. World, where it's insanely hard to heal, just because,
Oh yeah.
single target. And the only way I can AoE heal like on the fly is if I spec the wells and I do the shadow step spec as well, so that on shadow step I heal as well. So that worked out pretty decently for complementary healing. But I do think it's pretty solid. I imagine it's really good for stuff like smaller groups. So the smaller the group, the better. So I was thinking possibly 2v2s, 3v3s,
Mm-hmm.
even regular 5v5s, because you're not necessarily fighting 5v5 all the time. You're like doing 2v2s, 1v1s, 3v3s. So I think it would work out really well there. I think it does have kind of a skill ceiling because you could target allies and enemies. So but yeah, I'm impressed with it. I do think Scepter is really good. I think the traits are pretty decent. I do like the wells. Uh I think possibly they could do a stun break one, but I'm not entirely sure about that. Since it
Mm-hmm.
like you can spec for shadow step, it's kind of broken in that case. Um yeah, and the shadow shrouds, I think the shadow shrouds mostly my concern. I had a hard time with it. I guess it's just a learning curve for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall it's really good.
Cool. Okay. Kroof, first impressions.
I was hyped. I
Oh,
was
God.
so happy to be able to play this single target support spec. That's the playstyle I went with, and there are sirens in the background. So, one moment.
I think.
And they're gone.
Okay, good.
So yeah, I mean, I would agree with Age. There is a skill ceiling. Targeting right now is not the easiest thing to do, but I don't think that's the fault of the Spectre. It's just a necessity for developers and programmers to work on targeting a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
It is maybe a little strange. I was maybe expecting more focus and more refinement of the targeting, because once you kind of say yes to this style of gameplay that has never been in Guild Wars 2, I would also expect, improvements to come with the targeting and the UI to be released alongside with it.
Yeah.
Granted, this is a beta, so they might not have that necessarily ready, but I do hope that it's on a to-do list somewhere.
Yeah, great. I'm liking that the two of you that can do this are going. The two of us have to stay back, I believe, to hit the security consoles. But Kroof is going to bravely try and do this, apparently.
How do I
And
go?
talk at the same time. Although, maybe...
Oh, wrong place.
I can... No, actually, I'm not going to try that. Do you want to continue and I can try to do this? Or Age can as well?
I got you guys.
Oh, you got... Oh, dear. I died.
That port.
Oh, no.
I'll stay
Don't
behind.
both of you go back. Oh,
Oh, no. Okay, I'll go.
Just one. No, no.
It's fine. It's fine. I'll go back. You guys stay.
So
I
planned.
love memeing. Sorry.
Just one person. It's okay. So you're just first. We will get more into it, but Kroof enjoyed it by the signs. Is enjoying it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Generally. And Valen, first impressions, seeing the trailer and all the things, and we can get into all the specifics in a bit. We'll probably stop a little bit as well here and there, talk about the traits. What are your first impressions say you feel as a main thief as well, along with Age?
Yeah, I was thinking that it's kind of like the same thing I was saying about all the new specs. There's like, it's definitely a lot harder to play. There's so much decision making, as Age said, right? You can choose between hitting enemies or healing allies. So it's not like Daredevil where it's like, well, I just go in and I just do my skills and I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
You have to actually make a lot of decisions. Let's actually coordinate this. Here, let's wait.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. We're doing the Crucible of Eternity thing.
And then, as like Kroof was saying, the UI or like the targeting options need to be worked on as well, because Like
failed.
it's different because Guild Wars 2 is so different from other MMOs because the other MMOs, like every class is kind of like the same. Let's do this again. 3, 2,
There
1.
are 2 consoles over here.
Yeah, we got to
Or
do.
a total
Everyone
of 3,
takes one.
actually.
Everyone takes one, don't we?
Oh yeah, you need to stand in between them all.
Yeah,
Oh,
I just realized.
We did it. It's okay. We're done. We're good. We're good. Carry on.
Yeah, that's what
We're
I'm saying.
doing
Like every class in like Final Fantasy is kind of like the same, right? Like it just looks the same. They play the same, and it like the class identity is in like what order you press your buttons in or what color the flashies look like, right?
Mhm.
I think it's pretty safe in saying that Guild Wars 2, the class identity is it's so realistic. Like when you're playing an elementalist, you feel like you're
You mean
swapping
unique to that
skills.
theme
It
of the
feels-
class, right?
Yeah, and like on Thief, you're supporting people through mobility now, and it really the Thief support doesn't feel anything like the other supports. Like it's very unique to it, and that can be that is a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing in a lot of ways because it also makes everything so much more difficult to learn, right? Like everything is so distinct to each other. It's not like, oh, I played Firebrand heals, now I can play support.
Yeah.
Like you have to learn a completely different skill set to support, and yeah, that's a good thing, but also there's trade-offs to that. No pun intended.
I mean, absolutely. Yeah, this is, and I think that's also a very awesome thing. Like, I mean, I think you're saying it is a good thing specifically, but like, I think it can be difficult for people to also learn a thing. And I think sometimes there's definitely this thing in MMO. I think you've definitely got people who are like, they don't like to learn a new thing and they genuinely just do want to stick with the same abilities and the same build in the content to be, to not have that stress. I know in Elder Scrolls Online specifically, there's a massive issue about balance sometimes. And I'm just like, I love balance. Balance is my content. And for a lot of people, it just isn't. It just isn't. They don't like changing the style of play. I think Guild Wars 2 players, I think, genuinely don't mind it too much because I think they expect it because of just, how things have been done in the past. I completely agree with you. And like with this spec, I mean, it being something completely different and new to get used to appeals to players that haven't even wanted to play the class before. And I think this might go for Kroof specifically in this conversation and myself as well, because I really want to play this. Like, I genuinely am like massively intrigued in it. The Shroud is a different color from Necro. I love Shroud on Necro. I love the wells are fun to use, them being shadow steps as well, and the actual animation. Look at that animation. I mean, if you're listening and you can't see, the animation on your heal is so good. Like, you sink into the ground and then you come up into this location and these spirits, these ghosts are surrounding you. It's just like, it's a whole vibe, I guess I'm gonna say. I really don't like saying that, but like, it's just a word I don't like using. But it just look at it. That's so cool. It's just fun to use. Like, I just love this. And then there's different weight, like, that isn't the same, but there's different. Wait a minute, actually, is that correct? That's like all the boons. These are utilities are actually genuinely fun as well. They're actually good. Like, I personally think they're good anyway. Like the Well of Bounty, like giving you all of those boons feels very mesmery. It feels very, Well of Tears, where you shadow step to a target location to drop a well that repeatedly strikes foes. It's basic. You know what it does? Screw it. We need some damage. Well of Well of Silence, shadow step to a target area and lay down a well that dazes foes that it hits. Foes that are using skills when struck are inflicted with any conditions they don't already have, which is fun and is really, really supportive. Like, it can be offensive and it can be supportive at the same time. I just think I know there is some bits and pieces, with some of the wells could do with a little bit of work here and there, but I just really, really feel like this is very unique in what you want from an elite specialization. I feel like this is a perfect example of what an elite specialization should be for every class. I know it's not easy to do that and it's going to get more difficult, but this, and Mechanist, I think they really did really well. Especially with this. I think this is probably one of the best ones out of all of them. to just be like, this is completely different and completely shakes up the class? Would people agree with that kind of statement?
I would agree that it does fill the new role thing, but
Yeah.
in terms of like the specifics on Spectre, I feel like a lot of the traits really don't give you a lot of like choices in your build. Like it all kind of feels the same. Like Spectre itself is fun,
Right.
but making a Spectre build is not fun. If that
Okay.
makes
Well,
sense.
definitely talk more about that. What is the problem? Do you feel like you are is it just a support then? I guess is one way of kind of starting to talk about this. Is it just a support, or can it be specs for damage as well?
Or maybe if someone else wants to comment, they can.
You can spec it for, because like they have distinct lines. So the top part of the traits are basically Condi damage. The second and third are kind of just both for support.
Yeah.
But it's in different types of like how you want to play. I think the one thing I think the traits around the Shadow Shroud in particular, some of those I'm not very fond of in terms of what they are used for, but they're for primarily healing. So there's one trait I think that it kills all of your Shadow Shroud in order to heal allies, but like I might want my Shadow Shroud when I dip out, so I don't take that trait.
Okay. Could be a fun decision there.
There are certain things, but like I found traits that work for me.
And that's World v World specific you're talking about, or just kind of all content?
I honestly in general, because I would always, because if I'm gonna play competitive, I would always want my Shroud for something, because it's an extra health bar. Since they took away 3 initiative, that's an extra skill I don't get to use. So I would get it in my Shroud.
So you're saying you use the same traits everywhere?
Not necessarily. It depends if I'm healing or doing Condi damage.
How?
So I think I went 1-1-1 for Condi, and I went 1-3-3 for healing, I think.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the placements. I don't actually remember the traits themselves, but
I'm trying to remember my alacrity actually. So like, I mean, examples of like, oh good lord, this bit, I remember this bit now. You can offer alacrity in this build as a support as well. Yes. So it's not just the barrier, and you can like, so you can do barrier, you can do alacrity. There's a lot of support you can do in this, so you don't have to, I guess you don't have to just spec for like barrier or anything. I guess you can go for some Condi and roam around with some alacrity, right, and stick that in there and bits and bobs. But like, I guess Valen, what are you saying in terms of the traits? Is it that you feel pigeonholed into specific areas of the for Thief, or
not that you're pigeonholed into specific areas, but that the gameplay doesn't really change either way? Like, for example, I made a comparison of the new Shroud to any other like Necro Spec Shroud. They all have like, all the Necro Shrouds have very distinct like choices that they can make. So that's mostly because Necros have 5 trait lines that, you know, are all based around a core mechanic of Shroud. So obviously Necros can have more options, but just straight up in the Spectre trait line, there's no real, like, you use the same skills every time when you go in Shroud. You just use 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you leave or whatever, right? Like, it'd be cool if maybe like improvisation maybe like allowed you to have like maybe like a quick draw effect on your Shroud, right? Because improvisation gives you like you know, when you steal, it gives you 2 stacks of your stolen ability, right? But you don't get stolen abilities, so maybe what they could do is make it so that when you go in Shroud, you can use the first skill that you use in Shroud twice or something like that. Sort of like give that functionality to the Shroud, and then like they could do that for other things, just making like a difference in playstyle when you go in Shroud, because as it is right now, nothing affects the skills that you use in Shroud, so you just do the same thing on every single build, depending on what your stats are, kind
of. Okay.
I agree with that. There's not a lot you could do with the Shroud in itself in terms of traits for there. I think there's only like 2 or 3. It's just depending when you're entering or exiting.
There
It's
are a couple
mostly like the
traits.
siphon, which is like front load your steel as per usual, but
I feel like the
yeah, that's
traits
what
don't directly change the skills. It just changes the player's mentality of what they might want to focus on. So I really enjoy that a lot of the traits, there are 2 trait lines focusing on support, but with different aspects. One trait offering at least a possible condition play style. I think that's a really smart way to design elite specs. And sticking with around 1 or 2 is a good thing to do. I guess Mechanist kind of goes into 3 directions, but well, I think it does it well enough, but we'll get there soon. But the traits in particular that why I really enjoy these is because it focuses either on like condition cleanse, or you can take a trait that changes your F1 to also be an extremely strong res skill. So you now look at the siphon a little bit differently. Do you want to save that for when someone goes down, or do you want to try to give them barrier so they don't go down? The shade step, you can now look at barrier on yourself a little bit differently. You can now build it up on your own character to then sacrifice it for allies. So while it doesn't really affect any particular skill other than like the alacrity well, I do think there is enough here to get interested in if you start to want to specialize into a very specific way of playing with a specific game mode.
I guess one thing I'm thinking when I think about it is if you want to play Power or Condi, would you even take this?
You could do Condi if you min-max it enough if you really want to.
I guess to be like effective though, or like in a, you know, when we say effective, like I mean, you know, as in a high-end competitive environment, like would you spec? I mean, it's really early to say, obviously, and balancing and all the other kind of stuff you don't always like going to play versus the other elite specs, as we haven't had the experience yet. You know, it's difficult to say, I guess, but I think I kind of get what you're all saying, that there's a possibility for you to do this, that, the other. I've definitely gone against some Condi builds, a couple of Condi builds of this, but hasn't felt like it's been very effective. Like, if you were going to go Condi, would you run this? Or if you're going to go Power, would you run this to be like...
So I think with Power, I think there'd be like maybe one build that you could run, but it'd be mostly for roaming, I guess.
Oh, this boss is so annoying. Sorry, I just like remember it from years ago. Sorry, I haven't been here for a long time. We are in what path is this? I can't remember.
Any knockbacks?
Oh, God damn it. Yeah.
I've never done this fight before.
Yeah, we gotta get the golems into the boss here.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Forgot about that.
Do I? I think my mech does, but I don't think I can direct it properly.
We'll get into that now. There we go. If we can aggro them and pull them into the middle, right? I think, aren't we? We just stand in the middle.
Ooh. I don't think I've ever fought this boss.
Yeah, it's a bit of a fun one. Be slightly annoying. Which is it? F1 that you can use to res? I can't remember what trait. What trait is that?
If you take the middle trait.
Middle trait.
Shade step, I think.
Okay.
That's a Grandmaster. You can use. Oh wait, no, it is Shade Staff. I was thinking about. I pair it oftentimes with Amplified Siphoning because that grants even more barrier.
Revives allies when targeting them. Okay. So you have to target them with Siphon? Okay.
We have 2 supports. We should be fine.
Yeah, we'll be able to live. It's just I think the living should be fine. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this is an interesting boss to try and talk about. Sorry, to try and talk about the things while we do the things. I will talk. I in PvP specifically, I've had a lot of fun on this build. I like the things like the stability that you can get out of this, the barrier you can get out of this, the rezzing. I've tried a bit. I know there's a lot with the wells. I've had a lot of fun as well. I feel like I've been at low HP a few times, and I've jumped into Shroud, and I've been able to still be pretty effective, even at low health, and I haven't been had to like jump out and be massively worried for myself. Again, you know, that could be the skill of unranked play, I don't know. But like, I think just generally, like, I've just enjoyed the sheer theme of the spec, I guess, as well. That's something. And
It's that new factor.
Yeah, the new factor.
Something new.
I never play Thief
before.
I just never play Thief. Like, I just don't.
Oh, I was talking about the single target.
Yeah. No, well, that's the thing. But I mean,
game.
that's it. I mean, the single target healing. Let's talk about that. Like, there is no class other than. I mean, there are classes where you can kind of get a heal on a target that's close by and heal them for a lot. But like, other than that, there isn't really big single target healing focused abilities. Not saying or focused barrier, sorry, on any class other than now Spectre. I'm gonna stealth to you, hopefully. Port to you, sorry. And that is very, very cool. But like, you know, what you were saying earlier, Creef, I don't think Guild Wars 2 is very conducive to the whole single target support thing. I don't know. Do you want to say some more on that while we attempt to just try and kill this
the
thing?
single target discussion, I think primarily, first and foremost, if they want to have single target, I think it's actually a really healthy idea, because right now a lot of the support in the game is heavily focused around mass AoE, very easily applied skills that also heal you. So oftentimes with healers in this game, they are essentially tanks as well, which can create some balancing issues, particularly with Guardian. And I think that there is somewhat of a niche for that, but I think it's just everywhere. In the case with single target, you no longer have to have healing skills that also affect the player. So you can now begin to create stronger and more interesting single target support skills. In turn, I think it would also be pretty wise to start shaving down the amount of healing that AoE skills do. But that would also require you to add a couple more single target healing skills on the classes that do receive some nerfs. But I do think that this is an interesting road to go down for balancing and the way that people play support. Because now you can actually, if they want to go down this road, have almost that pure priest-like player who is a very high-value target. But to balance that, they themselves cannot easily heal them up. Maybe a couple defensive things here or there. That's always great to have. But right now, if you play like a core Guardian, you are extremely difficult to kill in many situations, unless someone is specialized and really good at that. But for the most part, I've had a really easy time surviving with the healers in this game right now.
Yeah. Okay.
What about comparing to other MMOs and how support's done there?
I think other MMOs, it's like you often have very high cost, high cooldown single target heals that are life-saving. In Guild Wars 2, it feels like every heal is an AoE healing ability that in and of itself is life-saving in situations. So there is a lot of power right now. I think over the years, healing was something people didn't go for. Then in Heart of Thorns, it kind of became more of a thing. And then over time, they've just buffed them more and implemented new ways of support with barrier, to the point where people often focus on the power creep of like power damage and condition damage. I think another area that people are now starting to, focus a bit more on is just like raw healing and raw barrier and the AoE pressure of it.
Yeah, barrier is another. I think they. I'd say I was just as you were talking about that. There is a feeling the barrier is going to take over the AoE kind of support, and then maybe healing could go into more of a single support kind of area. It would be cool if you had just like a class that gave barrier and didn't heal, and then just like another class. I mean, I know Scourge essentially kind of does that, but like, then a class that does do this specific, single target heals, even single target barrier, I guess. It would be good for that. Whether or not, I mean, this is the thing, and the UI, like, and this goes into maybe your UI discussion as well, Kroof, and thinking about that, because, I think, we've always, I mean, I don't know if anyone cares about this much anymore, but I mean, I know I do. like UI in Guild Wars 2 could do with a lot of work. I think nowadays, specifically, having some kind of customization would be good. I know there's an argument for like standardizing the game for everyone, so it's fair for everyone. Is a valid argument. Does anyone have any thoughts and feelings about how the UI works for the thief and having to do like possibly click up here to focus, or to have to click on your screen specifically to focus someone to be able to be like here's some barrier?
I mean, like, in terms of UI, it'd be like, now that we have Spectre, it'd be kind of nice to just have a better, like, a health bar, or maybe, well, I guess you can have nameplates on all the time.
Yeah.
And you could also, and if you're in a party, you can click portraits in order to heal as well too. I've never really thought about it. I don't know. I've played for 9 years, so it's like I'm kind of
You need to think about it.
Yeah,
I guess so. That's
But,
true.
I mean, it kind of goes back, like, if you are going ahead with the decision to fully create a spec with this new feature, it does feel not great if we can't have better control over the UI. And I know a lot of people say, like, they don't want Guild Wars 2 to become a game where you just play the UI. You kind of already do if you are a healer. You just focus on the very thick health bars in raiding scenarios or in PvP. There are a couple options to thicken the health bars. So I know personally, I'm always looking out for those health bars if I do want to play a build that is hyper-focused on healing.
Yeah.
Now, because we never had a single target function, I never had to look at the party window per se. But now I feel like it's more valuable for me to do that. And if the windows are stuck to the left-hand side of the corner, you already are taken out of the game, but now you're even at a more of a disadvantage because your line of sight has to go further to the left side of the screen. But if you were to unlock that, you could position it to whatever the person wants to, where they want to place it on screen, to be able to look at the combat and also select their targets.
Yeah, I kind of agree. The customizability of the UI has always been like the worst thing, like one of the worst things about Guild Wars 2. Like, it's never really been that big of an issue because the UI is great at its default, and they give you a lot of options that can sort of give you customizability, but it's very limited compared to a lot of other MMOs, right? Like Final Fantasy 14, WoW especially. I don't know about ESO if they have
absolutely. ESO, yeah. It's probably got the most customization along with WoW, to be fair.
Yeah. And like the whole idea of a single target healer, it just goes against that whole idea because the UI is never really necessary because you just are in the action, right? It's support. The support is supposed to be like you do proximity or you do a ground target, right? That's how you normally heal. But Guild Wars 2 has so much terrain to it. Like, it's not like WoW where everything is like flat terrain and then there's like one line of sight pillar on each map. Guild Wars has so much terrain on it, and Spectre actually cannot heal someone that's line of sighting them. Whereas like a Tempest or a Guardian, as long as you're within 600 range, it doesn't matter if you're behind a pillar, it doesn't matter if you're above, like, line of sighting them, you can heal that person.
As long as you're in range, yeah.
They're designed.
Yeah.
But Spectre, you can't. So it feels like it's just like it's a good idea, but not for Guild Wars 2 in a way. Like,
yeah.
It's interesting, but not for Guild Wars 2.
It's almost like Spectre would have been very good in Guild Wars. Because you can do that, you can customize. I guess you can customize your UI a lot more, and there's probably
also healing in Guild Wars 1 was already single target.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting. So that's.
But I also enjoy the idea that it should still be in Guild Wars 2, even with the line of sight, because it does create a skill level to healers that other games don't necessarily need. And even right now, if you're playing power, you need that skill to chase down a target and make sure there's no line of sight. If you're a healer, the AoE just has to hit them.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's like, or just be around them.
Yeah,
I mean, that kind of suggests that maybe they should nerf healers, down to the level of decision making that Spectre is at, right? Because if you look at raids nowadays, everyone just kind of sits on top of each other. They heal each other, and there's not really any decision making. You just do your rotation. You
'Cause you can
don't really
outdo
have
the
to think,
damage.
oh, this guy needs healing now. I mean, sort of you do, right? Like when someone goes, they split off from the party, does the mechanic, you kind of need to heal them. But for the most part, right, like it's not like Spectre. Even in, like a raid right now, I would say that raids are probably the least decision making for supports. But as a Spectre, you kind of have to think about your positioning to like hit as many people as possible, even though they're all stacked on top of each other. So yeah, I don't know, maybe support in general needs to be made more decision oriented, like the Spectre is.
Yeah, it does get hard when you're talking about Shroud earlier, but like I think that is potentially one of the things, isn't it? Like, because Shroud isn't a thing which is everywhere in these, but like you said, like Shroud is a core mechanic of Necro. It does make it very difficult to kind of enable this thing anywhere else within Thief. Like, you run this, you have to then focus on, you're not focusing on Shroud, are you? You're focusing on, like, if we look in PvP for example, like I think this is the build crew you showed me as well. I was kind of along the same lines, not with the Shadow Arts line though. But there was like Merciful Ambush, like stealthing and supporting. You're not really focusing on the Shroud specifically. You're focusing on your stealth and your boons that you're putting out, for example, or your own survivability to be tanky, or some CC. And then you've got this line which is just all heals, all things like Shroud and everything. So it's like, I think it is difficult. I think they've got a good balance between. I think the stealth doesn't stealth play a lot into Spectre as well? Like stealth is quite important. Hence why I see a lot of people running.
For self-survivability, I would say it's very, very important, because you do lose a bit of mobility and a little bit of that speed.
Mm-hmm.
So stealth is very important, though you don't really get too much of it on the Spectre. You kind of have to pull it from the other traits.
Okay.
And you can even heal people while you're in stealth, so that's kind of like a counterplay, right? Like a lot of times when you're in PvP, it's like they focus the healer first, because if they focus someone else, then they're just getting healed while they kite. So they often, the meta right now currently is to focus the core guardian, right? Because they're sort of easy to focus. And yeah, the thief, the Spectre is actually probably easier to focus. But if they have a build, I don't know what the build is that they'd run, but if you have a high uptime on stealth in your build, then it can be not as easy to counterplay, not as easy to focus, and then it does force the enemy team to fight, other players, and then you can pocket heal them, I guess. Now, obviously, the the stealth attack when you're with Scepter will reveal you, but like your 3 skill, if you have Scepter Pistol, that will not reveal you. So you can actually heal people while you're in stealth.
Yeah, you can be a stealth barrier provider, and a very strong one at that.
Interesting. I haven't actually tried pistol offhand. Or try that. Let's
It doesn't work in action combat, in action camera mode.
I was gonna say, yeah, action camera. I've heard some complaints about this not being too great, because you literally can't focus anyone, can you? Like, how are you gonna completely? I mean, I know people have their thoughts and feelings on action camera, but it's newer, and if the reasoning behind it is that it was supposed to be a fun thing for people to use and accessibility, then that class is almost completely inaccessible to anyone that has an action camera. There's just no way you can play it, because you can't focus anyone. I mean, you can play it, but if you're just playing like a very selfish kind of tanky build in whatever you're playing. But
yeah, I guess that's kind of true, because like the action camera is sort of like supposed to allow people to play without the use of their mouse, sort of, I guess. And Spectre is like almost all mouse gameplay. So
yeah, I mean,
I just think they need to code it, because I don't think that they even considered action camera when creating the spec.
Action camera is how most new MMOs are played, like newer, I would say. Oh, well, I mean, ESO is action camera. I mean, There are tons of MMOs now with your action camera, you know, New World, action camera, you know, there's
I
definitely
guess it
more.
just comes back down to the whole adding more options, right?
Uh-huh.
Because even if you have action camera, as long as you can target people with keybinds, I guess it works.
No. No, it
That's
doesn't
weird.
work.
Yeah, you need
Because if you
keyboard.
have an ally targeted on action camera and they walk into melee, it's been coded to prioritize damage. So even if you have an ally targeted, the projectiles will like magnetize to an enemy. So
Wait, really?
yeah, it is almost unplayable with action camera, particularly with melee allies.
Wait, I'm healing him though. Run right barriering.
Well, you
What do you mean,
have to
sorry?
be like in a fight because the way action camera work is that enemies have an extremely large radius to actually click on their hitbox. Allies have a very small one, and if the ally is in the enemy's hitbox, you cannot select the ally.
Oh, okay, right. You mean you can't? I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, maybe
Like, you
they
just
need to
can't
make it.
right-click him.
Maybe it should be that you don't. Yeah. Oh, you can't right click them. Okay. Because you can right click to target, right? Oh, okay. I actually didn't know you could do that. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh.
That was bad. Okay, so what I was saying was actually complete bollocks. But you can't. But yeah, you have to go up to that person. You can't just select them anywhere. No, that makes sense. What I said. Still, that's okay. Interesting. Do you want to play a game of PvP?
I'm down.
Sure.
That might be messy for a podcast specifically, but like we can try it. Why not? Let's do this. I need to get out
We
of
want
action.
to get a comp together.
No,
Big comp unranked energy.
I'll just
Like,
queue us.
I don't know. Crew suggested like the 3 specters and 1 berserker warrior.
Oh yeah, I'm
I think
playing
you can't
Spectre.
actually select 3 specters though. I think the game won't allow you to party with more than 2 of the same spec.
Doesn't mean you can't swap.
Oh, dirty, sly.
Does it not let you in unranked? Is that real?
It should be. You're
sure?
allowed to play on ranked PvP.
Yeah, you're allowed.
No,
can do
you're
that,
just not
right?
allowed to queue with 3 of the same class. You can still swap.
In
afterwards.
unranked. Really? I did not know that. I have
Wow.
not played unranked for a long time in a team of people then, and I feel bad. Shit, I didn't actually know
Only
that. That's
could
interesting.
in ranked.
Wow. Okay, alright. Well, let's queue how we are then, I guess, and then we can switch.
Well, what do we want to do? We want to do triple specter, 1
I mean, I've triple
super
Spectre.
DPS.
Yeah, I mean, does someone want to play like full damage?
I'll play specter. I don't care.
I'll play Spectre.
I'll
Age.
play whatever.
Play like a really
I mean,
hard-hitting,
Age-
fast-hitting thief.
Well, you can play Mechanist and go for like hardcore damage if you want.
No, I have 100% rate in engineer. I gotta keep that. So
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you're going for the
Fire.
achievement.
I must have it.
You want to go for NG? Or are you going for fifth?
No, he says he doesn't want to play any.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Can't play
He
NG.
doesn't trust us, is what he's trying to say.
Wow.
So what happens if you start losing a game?
I don't have 100% win rate.
You log out. Decent.
What is the psychology behind that? How do you feel? Like, do you start sweating?
Well-
You're like, no.
No, like I legit have played 1 PvP game on engineer. I have 1.
Oh, that's why.
and I want
But
to.
this is your beta spec. It don't matter. It's going to be deleted. Like, it's a completely different thing. It's a copy.
You don't know that, Jebro.
I do know that. I do, 100%. Is it
I
more of a
think
He
presence?
means like his account in general, like the pie chart, right? He's only played 1 game of engineer. I know it's hard for you to imagine that, Jebro. But he's
I
only played
know.
1 game
How
of engineer.
how
engineer.
how have you ever like not played it more? That's true.
Is that true, or are you talking about something else?
You're talking about the pie chart.
I'm talking about the pie chart. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, pumpkin pie.
Well, I don't think on beta characters. I don't think it counts.
I will not risk it, Jebro.
Oh my god. That's
You're like,
amazing.
let him have this solace.
I'll
in
let
this
you have
one
it.
brief
I'll let you
week.
have it. What is my least played? Revenant, 107 games probably.
Because technically, I could say I have a better engineer win rate than Jebro.
Oh
I
yeah,
do.
my engineer win rate is like not even 50%. I don't think. Oh, probably. I don't know if I've got it even on any. Actually, I don't even know.
So we can afford to lose one match.
There you go.
No, that puts me at 50%. Then he gets closer to beating
H,
me.
can you? Whoever needs to decide, click on accept, so we can go and do this, and we can
I
start
haven't
talking about
played
the best
PvP
class in the game.
4 years. I need to choose a build.
Okay.
Oh, we can we'll probably focus the Reaper then. Yeah, you're playing Reaper.
Oh yeah, if you go are you Reaper?
Yeah.
Okay, we can all go Spectre and you can just pop off, I guess.
Damn. You can go for
Pop
all.
off,
build.
sis.
Just go
That's
meta
perfect.
out.
You don't even need a PvP build.
Oh
Just go
my
PvP.
god.
Sipping on that true tea, hunty.
Wow.
Hey, let me swap to my thief.
Okay, I'm going for. Where are we going here for this build? I'm going Shadow Arts, Trickery, and Spectre. We're going for Second Opinion, which is the trait and portion of your condition damage to convert to healing power. And healing power, which is increased when wielding a scepter. Ooh, you have to wield a scepter. Dark Sentry is an adept. Is apply Rot Wallow venom to allies that you grant barrier to. Outgoing healing to allies is increased. Oh, that's going to be pretty good for Age on Reaper. Traversing Dusk, which is in the second line. Heal allies in the area around you when you shadow step. Gain shadow force for each ally in the radius, which is your life force, which is what it's called for Thief. Your life force bar for your shroud. You also wells grant alacrity on their initial impact as well for 4 seconds. That's pretty nice. Wow, you're gonna have like permanent alacrity. Permanent big barrier. That's gonna be pretty ridiculous. Panaku's ambition, gain barrier when you strike foes with a stealth attack. When you apply stealth to allies, you also grant them barrier. Ooh, that's pretty damn nice. This is a great spec. Shadow Step, Shade Step. Siphon now grants you barrier when targeting enemies. And it revives allies when targeting them as well. Pardon me. Oh, we have too many in the same profession. Okay. Someone just switch for now, and then we're done. Cool.
I will say, with the conversation of single target versus AoE potency, I am a little worried that this will be fairly strong even in an AoE setting.
Okay.
And I would prefer if they just shifted more of that power to single target while, AoEs being AoE applications.
Mm-hmm.
And you affect so many more targets. I don't think they need to be this.
I think the single target is more strong than the AoE, right? Though.
Single target, especially the auto attack, because you can get them up to like very decent barrier on an auto attack. It's not, adhered to initiative or a cooldown.
I really like what I'm excited about seeing in PvP specifically is like Shadow Refuge coming back, because I used to love Shadow Refuge and when I was watching PvP. Used to love those. I used to love those. Do you remember stealth reses as well? Were just like they would pull out some clutch, awesome plays. I remember that so well.
You like to cast those, but no one liked playing against it.
I did like to cast those because it did give some hype. It gave one of the biggest hype plays I've ever had in Guild Wars 2. That's why. But yeah, to play against it, pretty nasty. I guess it's a bit like, the Elementalist vapor forming through a portal into your base kind of gameplay, which is a fun one. Yeah, there was definitely it definitely brought some interesting moments. I think, what was the nerf? I don't remember the change they brought to stealth resin, why people would stop using it. I can't remember why it was back. It was so long ago.
Just Revenant came out.
It was just,
was
it Revenant? Right. Yeah.
So much more damage. You can't stand inside your refuge or you just die.
Yeah. I guess, would barrier necessarily stop that though, I guess? I don't think so, probably not. Maybe.
Yeah, you have the Shroud, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
When you're in Shroud, you you don't take damage, right? Your shroud takes damage, so you're a lot tankier.
Yeah. And when you give people stealth, you can give barrier as well, and you can pop shroud off, so you can stun peeps in there.
I apologize to chat in advance for my badness.
We're not rating people's gameplay during a podcast.
Bad. We're just gonna all go to the same place,
Gosh.
target one guy, heal the necro, and then just
that's what we're doing.
Go in.
We're
I meant
literally gonna
me
do that.
because I have to like do all the damage, and
It's
I-
fine.
We don't care.
The score is irrelevant as long as we kill stuff. We're doing what we're trying to do.
How many stacks of Rot Wallow can you get? We got 30 right now.
I've seen
I'm
like
averaging 30. Yeah.
Wait, what?
I got up to 70 once.
Is it just unlimited?
It's unlimited.
What?
You can have a
Really?
whole 10 person raid with like 9
let's
specters.
test it right now. Start stacking.
Just on
Oh
one.
shit! Yeah. Okay, so Rot Wallow Venom to allies. You apply it when you hit them with your scepter that you grant barrier to. Outgoing healing to allies is increased. So we're not gonna die.
You better
Oh
get
my
that Death
God.
Shroud. You better get Reaper Shroud 4th skill with the quickness.
Oh my God! I've got the pistol as well. So yeah, we're
I'll
getting.
target.
He's already in shroud right now. We're giving him shroud.
Oh my
This is
God! All right, here's
Go
quickness.
for it.
one.
Oh crap!
Yes.
Oh my God! You're never gonna die. We may die. But you're never gonna die. Keep going. You got this.
Oh, big CC, big CC.
Another CC, another CC.
Oh nice! It's working. It's working. I hope you can watch this video. I know audio wise. Oh my God! No one's dying. No one's dying.
This is so nasty.
Oh no, we're giving people ideas for AT specs.
Rotate it. So everyone go to far.
Oh, cat mid.
Someone cap, yeah. Oh no, wait. We
Far.
can't split up.
Should we go
Really.
home?
No, we need to go far.
Are we all going? We're all
Well,
going.
we have to. We have to.
It's the memes. It's unranked. I'm not losing any rank in
No
this
one
game.
cares. No, it's fine.
They're just avoiding us now.
Around us. We're gonna
We are
have
new
to-
players. We are new players.
One thief.
Oh,
Wait, no, there's a guy.
someone was here. Someone decided to make the fatal error.
Oh
of
God,
coming over
no.
here.
I've not got the chat on right now either because that would just be a bad idea. We've got the cap though, everyone.
And I love that Rottweiler Venom as a minor trait, you still deal torment damage even if you are focusing on an ally.
Please go for the down state. Go for the down state. No. Hey, sorry, the res. The down state. Oh, wait. Who's going down? Venom's got low HP. No, can't be happening. All right, we gotta get back on. We gotta get back on. Good old age. This has been amazing. Go for it. Get it. Get it.
I might go down actually.
No. Be with us. Where are you, Criff?
I was getting focused. They knocked me back and
Criff,
pulled
you're
me.
so far away.
They
you're not-
CC'd me.
What the hell? Go.
There was nothing to do. It was rough.
Oh my God, you were so far. Rude. It's okay. We got you. We got you, H.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
No one important was lost.
We do need to get some caps though. Think about this.
And heal the main
Quick,
target.
what about our buddy? What about our
Just
buddy?
let the Rev die.
No.
Where's
Let
the
me
Rev?
show
I'm
you
gonna
the.
get a kill.
I've got him.
Got him. Oh, the F1 is so
We're
good.
actually supporting other people.
Oh yeah, we can. I'm supporting our Revenant friend as well now.
Should we go for Bell?
Yeah, we should go Bell. Yeah. That's definitely. We could actually win the game with Bell.
Someone's already there. We're gonna lose this one.
We already
Oh
missed
no, crap. I didn't even hear it because I'm listening to one of you. Oh no, the Revenant's down. I'm rezzing him. Oh, that UI is great. Oh my God, that changes so much. I didn't even know it changes that much. Oh, I'm dead. Oh no. I'm gonna come to you, Criff, next to you.
My healers.
I'm
No.
sorry.
Oh shit! I
They're
tunnel
putting
vision.
pressure on other people now.
No. I'm stuffed. Yay. It's gonna be okay.
Use the F1s on the allies.
Yeah, I forgot.
When they're
I'm
down.
using it. Oh, there we go. Oh crap.
We came back.
Well, I don't know if we came back.
A little bit.
I mean, we're alive. We're definitely alive. That's the thing. If you're listening to this, you must be having a whale of a time right now because you ain't got, like, this isn't going to work for that.
I'm going to do a big CC here. Big.
Okay. Nice. I'm gonna put mine up as well. There you go. Target's down.
I'm using another one. Whoopang.
Whoopee.
Heals coming out.
Oh yes.
Big heals.
Nice.
Delicious.
There's some stun, but I got knocked back.
I'm probably dead.
No, you're not.
We need to kill that Mesmer next. Yeah, this
Yeah,
one.
the Mesmer is a little rough.
Uh-oh. Yeah, we should definitely
Go
just not
Age.
focus on Uh-oh. Nice. Shoutcast your own match? Oh my god. That's the most annoying thing. I can barely talk when even just thinking about it.
We may not be winning the match, but we are at
Having
least
fun.
we have a different objective. The objective is not to win
No.
the match. It's to win
The meme.
something.
We must win the
Win
meme.
the meme.
Ooh, down
winning.
F1. F1
Oh no,
down,
oh no,
F1 down.
oh no. F1. Oh,
Oh,
we
no.
failed. No.
Big CC coming in. Big CC.
Oh, dead. Yeah. Did the same.
Another CC.
So we got to win the fight. And we're winning the team fights. I got a big stun. With Shroud. Nice. Rally. Awesome.
No dying, Talon.
I'm down. I'm put it away. Grief F1 me.
Oh no, I got knocked back. Oh,
No, the death.
Oh, I tried to shadow stuff. I couldn't do it.
He maybe can't run, like, he can't do this in PvP, like Zerging PvP ain't good, peeps, but we're just showing you the strength of it. We let down Age, though. Age is in the down state
Keep
now.
people alive.
Yeah, I
For the
tunnel
most
vision. I
part.
forgot what the objective was.
We're just like rob all of them.
Go into PvP mode, it's okay. I think I'm going to have to actually put this on as YouTube as a separate video. This is going to be funny.
Three Spectres, one Reaper.
Yeah, that's definitely good
That
times.
sounds like a
It
controversial.
does. It does sound like a controversial subject. Looking in my head. Where is? Well, there you are. I do like that the. I love that you can selecting it. The UI does look a little bit different actually, like when you're selecting peeps and when you're rezzing them as well, because there's that little purpley pinky kind of line on there as well. Oh yeah, what was that? Oh, look at me. Okay, come on now. I got the most healing. 206.
I got the most reses. And also the most kills. What?
Oh, how much damage did you get?
I was 27.
I was
27
27 too. Just for I didn't even like do. I barely did any
Yeah,
damage.
25k. What did you get though, H?
I gotta check. Hold on.
If you're
So-
still in the screen, obviously.
I'm not in the screen.
Oh,
check my
damn.
stats,
That would have
right?
been interesting to find out.
So you can still do damage. I mean, it's very dependent on the person you are targeting. Hitting.
The venom, and they apply your venom, and you'll see the ticks of damage that you do.
Hmm. So you can still get a little bit of damage, but you will be primarily fulfilling that support.
It's pretty rad. to be
Yeah,
fair.
you can basically tether onto your target, and then you could just DPS, and you'll still be healing. So that's
Yeah.
what makes it really good.
Especially in Shroud. Shroud, it's like pure healing. It's not just barrier.
Yeah.
So what do we think overall then of the Spectre? Is there anything else we want to add to what we've been talking about? And that was just fun, just doing that. Like, you know, I enjoyed that immensely. Good stuff.
Yeah. So one thing that I noticed is that if you don't have a siphon target, you automatically attach yourself to a target when you enter your shroud, which is very nice.
Yeah,
That's very cool.
That's cool.
I do think that ArenaNet needs to add a little indicator on who you're siphoned onto, because you can swap every 5 seconds, so it'd be kind of nice if you just don't lose that confusion. I know some people would be like, oh, I need to go into Shroud to see who I'm tethered to, type of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Um,
tether is not that obvious. Yeah, that's true.
yeah, and this is one I'm kind of debating, but I've always said preparedness, which is the +3 initiative and trickery, should be baseline.
Mm-hmm.
You probably have to bounce around that. It just allows you to not take trickery all the time, but I feel like trickery is just a necessity for Spectre.
Oh yeah.
But since you lose the extra initiative, I don't know how I feel about it just yet, but it would be require me to play a lot more hours on it, but maybe it's something they can consider after 5 years.
Oh no. If you like. I
I'm,
mean,
I'm not at all.
I mean, there is the whole thing. I mean, I know it's a joke in a minute because like their balancing hasn't. I mean, I think we can categorically be honest and just say like logically and legitimately and honestly that balances is something which is done very often and in the past and it's been a big issue in competitive modes, and I would say just everywhere. But also they are changing their tune in that direction. Like they're going to be heavily, from what they've said anyway, they're going to be heavily balancing
So
in the beginning.
in that
at least.
respect, you have to think about it a little differently because this is like an MMO, and balance is not just for PvP. It's for World vs. World. It's for raids, for open world stuff. So like everything
absolutely.
goes into that, rather than like a game like League of Legends where it's like strictly just like Summoner's Rift.
Yeah, no, that's literally my argument as well. When anyone ever always says that, I definitely agree with you for sure. I do feel like they leave stuff too long though, that they do need to change. And it's specifically I'm thinking about Pro League where it balance definitely damaged the actual presence of it being entertaining. That's what like in season
not
1.
Enjoy casting bunker meta?
I will try and find the game and show, and people probably remember. I mean, it sounds like Valen remembers when I was literally casting.
It was not fun
on
to
middle
play.
Clock Tower, Mesmer, Chronomancer. It was literally whoever decapped, whoever got the CC on people. Capped, I don't know what it was. Yeah. It was like. And is a professional caster getting paid to do that, and like, you know, this is your job. Your job isn't to just sit there and call out, you know, this is bad for the game, etc. Your job is to, you know, build hype and excitement. And I think I at least tried to do that in a way which felt genuine, but it was very difficult to do.
They've been on point for 4 minutes.
Yeah, it was. I think I got to the point of sarcasm where everyone was just like, "Yeah, even Jembro's pissed off with this." It's just like if you can get it to Jembro, it's gonna get to everyone, kind of thing. But like, yeah, I'm just hoping that, you know, I mean, and for all of these, your balance is always subject. Like, you know, it's always a very difficult thing to talk about because, you know, you're just like, this is beta, they can do the balancing, the numbers and all that kind of stuff, they can do that easily. But I think in Guild Wars 2 sometimes I'm just like, I hope they do that, because, you know, there's always that concern that won't happen because of like you say, Age, because of that reason, because they've got so much focus on so many modes as well, like it does make it more difficult. But they have separated skills out into different areas, so I do feel like, you know, and if there's an issue, they can just definitely, you know, split off that and just be like, in PvP we need to change this now, and it's something we have to do. You know, I say that it's easy, but I mean,
they've gone to the extent of creating basically every skill is split between the 3 game modes. So now that, I mean, when they first started doing that, that was a great sign of what could be, but even still, it's not as fast as it should be. Like, especially like there's some glaring issues, like Core Guardian is just extremely powerful, Reaper in Lich form, like certain things that need maybe a second look at.
I don't. So concerning things like Core Guardian or Scourge, like I haven't played PvP in a long time, but I like keep up with like all the things that people mainly complain about. I feel like Arena needs to just look at those, I think those are the ones that just need addressing right away versus the long-term balance patches that just overhaul and
Oh
makes
yeah.
new builds type of deal. I think that's what they need to work on in particular.
I mean,
Yeah,
the bigger. I
already-
mean, this is going to be a. I'm not gonna. We're not gonna start talking about balance because that's gonna be a conversation we can have for years without breaks probably. But like, yeah. I mean, hopefully with all the new, they've been talking about a new way of looking at balance, and I'm interested and excited about that. I think genuinely, like having big balance patches every so often is fine, but you need to have smaller ones in between to be able to, you know,
sure.
keep the game healthy. Okay, let's go over to the best class. I mean, to Mechanist. Sorry, Engineer.
Wow.
I didn't mean to call it the best class.
What?
Of course.
Yeah, no, we were on the
Aiming
best
for
class.
our
I
necks.
understand your
It
confusion.
was an accident. So the best class in the game, Engineer, has the
Maybe the
best
best
elite
elite
specialization. I mean, really? Let's just end the podcast because no, there's some issues, but I think we probably know how I feel about this already. But in terms of everyone else's thoughts and feelings, let's go down the whoever's below me here. Age, you were actually playing Mechanist while we've been doing this podcast. What your first impressions of the trailer? Have you enjoyed playing it? Well, just some first quick impressions for me.
So when a preview came out and I saw I saw it and it's like I thought it was very cool. It was very different. My main concern and the only concern I really had was if your mech died and you had like a 90-second cooldown and you rendered one trait line completely useless. That was my main concern. But it's fairly tanky. So I'm pretty happy about that. So I honestly don't know how it would fare in PvP because like what do you focus? Do you focus the golem real fast and then the person? Do you focus the person right away? And it's like so I don't know how that playstyle works, but like the way it plays is really fun. I like the diversity of picking the different skills that you can have. I like the signets they're very solid too, and you can just take some of the utilities like Elixir Gun and Elixir S. What was it? The one that makes you invulnerable.
Elixir S, yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I think it's fairly good, fairly fun, but I don't know from a competitive perspective.
Okay, fair play. As an extra note, we're gonna go and do Sidor Flame.
Let's go.
Been a bit fun dungeon. Yes, awesome. Thank you, H. Proof. First impressions, feels.
Oh, well, I'm happy to report that
It's the best class.
objectively,
Okay.
I think this is the best elite spec out of every single elite spec.
Proof
for
is
Ender Dragons.
rehired already.
Rehired. Oh, I love having a secure financial situation. But the trailer, I mean, come on now. That trailer was the best trailer. Especially following Untamed. Untamed's trailer was so
That's probably why it was
not
so
great.
good. It was probably why it
And
was so
then
good.
the next trailer was like Mechanist. You get
Yeah.
a giant mech. Look at it do everything. Look at all the cool animations and spell effects. So from the trailer, I already had high expectations. We saw the live stream. Once again, super happy with it. And then we got to actually play it. And my time playing it, it's been a joy. It's been wonderful. I've had so much fun creating 3 different distinct builds, from condition damage to power damage to maybe some barrier focus or alacrity focus. That said, I do think that there are some interesting balance decisions, but once again, balance is kind of amorphous and changes over time. So, but overall,
Yeah.
one of the best elite specs.
Cool. Valen.
I'm just, glad that Mechanist is coming out after the very apparent bot infestation, because now I know how to play around the mech.
especially in PvP. Good lord, that is like yeah. Actually, I would argue that a lot of the bots that play PvP are actually very, very good.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, the
scary.
bots are they're mechanically solid. Maybe not rotationally, but
Yeah, but like legitimately,
it's hard for you to beat them in like a reaction war, but it's easy to strategize them.
In the 2v2s and stuff and the 3v3s, like some of the bots, I'm just like, I'm amazed at the rotate, like because
there's no strategy there. It's just deathmatch.
It's just
they have some of the more interesting rotations than bosses in this game. So kudos to the coders.
Yeah, please. Maybe we should look at that. Age, do you want to come and join us in Citadel Flame?
Yes, but I forgot I was testing a power build on Spectre.
It's okay. Bring it on. There you go. Bring it.
I gotta try everything.
Bring it. Okay, so my first impressions were this is the best and everyone should play it. No, I was pretty hyped, but I was also concerned because I am not an AI fan. I am not a fan of pair classes. I am not a fan of Miniomancer. I am not a fan of anything that walks around with you and you've got to press a button to activate and they do loads of stuff to the point where, like Miniomancer it was just kind of ridiculous. And saying that I used to love turrets back in the day, turret build, like I had some involvement at that being, fairly popular, and which is unfortunate. And like, sometimes that kind of gameplay isn't very fun to play against or play with. But this is very different because this is like something we actually have a lot of control, or hopefully will do at least, when they give you the return to me keybind at least as well. But I was very excited. I was like, this is actually going to be different. This is playing completely different, playing my class completely differently. I'm essentially a ranger now. Like, I mean, a lot of people, I know it's not just a ranger, but they've kind of done it with Thief. They've given Thief a very necro spec. Like you've got like Death Shroud, and that's a thing. And now I'm playing with this other entity, which is actually quite important depending on my build. So for example, right now I'm running damage, which is, it's pretty important that it does damage, but it also gives some nice boons off, and it gives them off like Alacrity or whatever. So there's very much this, you can play support, not in the most strict support way, I would say, but like, you can still play a support, you can play condition, and you can play power, and they're all seemingly quite good for what you would expect in just normal situations. I don't know, in high-end raid content, I don't know what's going on there. But I've been playing Alacrity. I played Alacrity. I like that Alacrity is 5 players for a start. I think that's good. I think that, pardon me, all boons that you give out should just be for 5 players. I don't think it should be 10. I think Alacrity for 10 players, just
balance argument.
I mean, I'll try to go. We'll go away from that. But like, but I do like it is at the moment it is 5 players. I just wouldn't want that to change. I think it gives out too. I think it gives out too much Alacrity maybe as well. That could be an argument. But generally, I mean, the mech's fun. There's definitely issues with it. Like it randomly just it runs away from you a lot. Like, you'll probably see it in here. It's actually standing right next to me. But in the mists, if you're on one different level and the mech decides to run away, it will just randomly attack stuff. Like it just randomly runs away all the time. So you got to make sure you've got it on like guard or whatever. But I think most of the issue with mech is around Mechanist is just the mech itself actually being able to do, for me anyway, personally, be able to do what you want it to do and just stick by you, and it's just going to take a lot of getting used to just kind of control it and whatnot. But like, what you all enjoying about like Mechanist? If by what you've said to a degree you're enjoying it, I don't know how Valen. I'm not sure if Valen's enjoying it, but like, I mean, maybe everyone else is. But like, what are we enjoying the most about it? If we're enjoying it. And if you're not, then yeah,
the Mac.
that's also fun. The mech. What about
The
the
mech is
mech?
carrying. It's
I
just,
like how visual it is.
yes, it's
Like
the
the mortar,
novelty.
you just like I've actually seen the mortar shot just like actually go into orbit. It just and it didn't hit anyone, but it went into orbit and it never came back.
Yeah, that's an issue. I've seen that happen as well, to be honest. Yeah, that's been a bit of a problem. That's for sure.
It's just such a statement piece for an elite specialization that other elite specs in this batch have not gotten. So it is also, I think also this batch visually and thematically haven't been the best. I would agree that Heart of Thorns is probably one of the better sets.
Yeah.
So at least for me, my expectations were already starting to dwindle a little bit. So then we saw the design of the mech, the spell effects, the animations, and how much customization you have over it. That was what really sold me on just the fun factor.
Cool. I like the damage. I'm just like playing it Rhinoa and just like an explorer.
Yes.
It's just, it might sound like a really like obvious thing, but I just like the impactfulness of it. I think I like the fact that you have, it feels like, I know a lot of ranger players are like, I wish I had a pet and there was this much I guess customization with the pet in my class than there is with Mechanist, because like, you know, you can share your veracity and your power and your precision as like, you know, a damage trait, which you can share 50% of your stats with your mech, you know, and you can share your concentration and healing in support building, you know, toughness, vitality if you want to be tanky or whatever. So I think that's one part of it I like quite a lot. Sorry?
Only if you could do that with turrets.
Oh god, no. Oh god, turrets. Oh god. But turrets have got their tool belt skill, which gives them the extra kind of use, which is okay. We don't have the tool belt skills, which, you know, a lot of people are kind of sound about, which you know, as an engineer I can understand that, but you need to have a trade-off, and that's a thing.
There's a pretty big trade-off because the stun breaks, right? Most of the stun breaks on NG are from the tool belts, right?
That's right, yeah. So like Elixir Gun, for example. I mean, I know Scrapper is different elite specializations, so there's that, but it's like survivability. So Elixir S is like stealth, for example, on tool belt, which is a really big part of like, you know, running that. Yeah, I mean, running elixirs kind of sucks because you lose like half of their use, as well as like the might if you go HGH and like because HGH,
yeah, it seems like elixirs are not very good because you don't want to buff yourself, you want to buff your mech.
Exactly.
Like destroy NG elixirs and give them to Necro.
Oh yeah, it's like they did that, didn't they? Completely. Yeah, that's true actually. Yeah, you're not going to play elixirs this, but I've been seeing people use elixirs in PvP, like Elixir S, because it kind of is a good core invulnerability.
Balin, it's broken.
Wait, what happened?
I didn't have a glider.
Oh yeah, crap! Keep forgetting about that stuff.
I know that feel.
Wait, we gotta go back. We're going the wrong way. Or are we? No, you're going the right way. Sorry, my bad. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So I mean, there is definitely a lot of NG which is taken away, which I think is okay. I think that's all right to kind of have that. I know people are upset, but I'm like, you know, on the Reddit forums, there's a big argument about NG and what NG is, and like, you know, removing tool belt skills and the core NG is bad, and I'm just like, damn, these people don't play engineer. I feel like a lot of people just don't play it, and I don't know. It's enough conversation for another day. But like,
yeah, isn't NG the least?
It is one of the least, apparently.
The least popular classes.
Yeah. I don't get it. I'm obsessed with engineer. I love my class. Look at the you see that in the cutscene? My mech just like firing away. That's good. So good that it's now part of the actual cutscenes. Yeah, that's actually a true thing. I mean, I think Mechanist changes that a lot. Do you reckon they're trying to steal Ranger players to go to play NG, and that's why Untamed was not that great? Just like,
Wow.
I think there are many other reasons Untamed wasn't great, but I mean, I'm not even
Obviously,
a
that's a
ranger
joke.
player, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It is appealing to a lot of people. I think
Right.
engineer as a core class is very steampunk aesthetic, which is
Yeah.
a very niche area of people's interest, I would say.
Damn.
There are a lot of people that like steampunk, but
I love
overall,
steampunk.
when you see big jade mech boy, you're like, I want to play.
Yeah. Let's go. Something to control. It's like that it's like a mini game managing that thing, I tell you. Jesus. Because obviously, you know, depending on how damaged your mech is, like my mech is not taking any damage right now, probably won't take much damage in this dungeon, to be fair. But obviously, you know, it depends on the cooldown. So you can, if your mech gets into trouble, you call it, you know, you tell it to go away. Love that animation when it goes away. But like if it's got high HP, you can get out of a tough situation, becomes invulnerable, and then you can bring it back within a short period of time. If it's dead though, it's going to be about 100 seconds or so, depending on if you trait or whatever. You can bring it back, but you have to have I don't know why you would play Mechanist and not use its elite signet, for example. Like it just doesn't seem to make any sense that you wouldn't use that, for example. Because what this does is it just brings it back no matter what. It's like, I feel like you are kind of pigeonholed into a few different ways of playing. Like signets are pretty much, I mean, I know in PvE races,
you want
like
kits, right? Because
exactly.
the lack of tool belts means you don't have that many skills. So you definitely want at least 1 or 2 kits.
It's all about the kits, yeah. It's kits and signets mostly. Like for example, like I think there's a PvE build, I think I was watching Mella's video earlier and it was using 3 kits, for example, and I know that as well, like a lot of people don't actually like using kits for some reason because they don't like having so many abilities like elementalists, and I'm like, I love kits because you just get, like, I have like a toolkit. I use toolkit in PvP on this because it's so fun. Like I got a block, you know, I've got a pull so I can pull in enemies and my mech can take it out, for example. Like I really like that style of play and it's been pretty awesome. But I think, you know, it does remove some utility for engineer, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing because I think you can do that for all classes with different elites. I actually really like that elite on Thief. It makes the ground look completely different. Good. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like something else that I like about the mech is when you change the first trait line. I believe it's the first line. The mech actually changes look. Like you can change the look of the mech. Well, I know obviously like depending on which skills you got. So that's quite a cool thing, right? Is that a cool thing?
It's a really cool thing. I know a lot of people have been asking for customization with the model and more options for how the mech looks, but I think that'll probably come down. It might never happen or come down the line much later, but having at least a little customization with the arms of the mech, that's just a little touch. And I think those little touches on this elite spec highlight the lack of little touches on other elite specs. Like when you look at the Untamed visuals versus the Mechanists, it's night and day between like the quality and the art direction for the Mechanist versus say the Untamed where you just get like a fart cloud. So.
I mean, they had to design an entire mech. Like that's an entire thing. I mean, I know signets necessarily. I mean, that's the main thing they've had to obviously design. Like, and obviously the effects for, like, you know. I mean, the signets aren't necessarily. They're already things in the game, right? You know, like you've got Shattered Sev, you got Port, you add the visuals to that. Even though you've essentially just add these things, but like the mech is a brand new thing with brand new animations, with brand new. Yeah, loads of stuff. I mean, I guess that a lot of them are Golem animations as well to a degree, but this is essentially a new thing. So it's quite a lot of effort on their behalf to like really kind of delve into that. So I guess that feels pretty nice as an engineer. I'm not gonna lie, it feels nice to have some focus on you or to feel the love a little bit. I I think engineers, we've been pretty lucky in Elite Specs. We've been pretty lucky.
I
That's
think
true.
it's kind of go ahead.
No, I was just supposed to say, like, I've played Scrapper, I had fun with it. I played Hallsmith, I had fun with it. I played Mechanist, I had fun with it. Like, and I don't really play NG. I actually made a second NG because of Hallsmith. So
Damn. Oops. Matt, can you res me? Hi, buddy.
That's another thing. I would love if they added another downstate skill for mechanists to have your mech come and revive you like a ranger pet.
It should replace your second skill. It should just be, that would be cool.
Or the third skill, because the third skill is just extra CC.
Yeah.
Engineers get 2 CC skills on their downstate.
Actually, that would actually be a good idea. It might be a bit powerful, but yeah, that would be cool. Valen, you were gonna say something, I think, as well.
I was going to talk about a completely different thing about how
okay.
you said like the mech really feels like it's got a clear identity and direction to it. Because like we were talking about the Untamed, I was talking about how it just feels like it's unfinished.
Yeah.
And that's potentially what it is. It's just they spent more time on mech. They spent less time on the Untamed so far. I mean, it's not released yet. If you think about all the specs that are in the game right now, do any feel unfinished? I mean, they definitely may have felt unfinished on even release, but they still went back and kind of polished them. I mean, they're even polishing Chrono in Path of Fire, right?
Yeah.
There's always potential for it to become better later.
Oh, for sure.
And
absolutely.
I think I have faith in the class design. If there's one thing I have faith in ArenaNet, it's their class design.
I'm hoping. I mean, there's definitely been changes. Yeah, I mean, they changed Thief a hell of a lot as well. They changed Deadeye. They changed Mesmer stuff. They changed
Tempest.
Yeah, Tempest. They did a lot of work to, in the end, Firebrand. I think in the future they would be nice to see some changes from Scourge potentially as well. I think Mechanist probably is gonna do at the moment, other than numbers, maybe is probably gonna need the least amount of balance changes probably. Like not balance changes, sorry, but actual changes in terms of like the class. It feels pretty good. It feels like we've got some ability, we've got, increase the damage. We've got these signets that we can use. I like that signets are a thing. I think that's good. I like the traits because, like, the one thing I like about the traits is the fact that it looks like you can. It feels like as an engineer, like, and this man sound really like, Valen was talking about roleplay earlier, so I'm gonna enter that realm. Okay, like, it feels like I'm pushing buttons, like, and I'm creating this thing, like where my mech, I'm programming my mech, and then my mech is going to be this, this different kind of machine. It's going to be this, it's going to output these abilities, and when we get some downtime, I can program it to be something else. It feels cool. Like those utilities are like, the traits are like directly affecting that mech specifically, and its abilities and its look in the first line, and like the ability to support or to do condition damage or to do power damage. And then you've got this trait which is like, oh wow, I'm out of combat apparently, where you can literally just be like, okay, well, here you go. It literally can work with explosives. Like, it gives you that specific language, which I don't think we really have much. Are you okay there? Let's give Creef a little bit of a rest. I'm out of combat, it's fine. Where it says it works, that your mech takes on another trait line's on hit bonuses, which is like, I mean, other than Ranger, I guess, maybe it doesn't happen that much anyway, does it? I mean, it's not like, you take on this line from everyone else. Maybe it's because of the pet and you need to specifically do that. But I feel like it does then kind of, it may pigeonhole you a little bit into explosives if you want to be really, really if you want to be a damage spec, it feels like that you have to kind of maybe go into explosives. I don't know, but
what other synergies could they have?
I mean, firearms, I guess.
Maybe.
Yeah, inventions could be cool. Well, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Like, I would love to repair my mech. Like, rather than just heal it. like get a tool belt out, toolkit out, and just be like, you know, hit it. That could be quite cool.
I think
It
it would
goes
be
back-
a lot of options with Mechanist, particularly with support
Yeah.
and the alacrity. Oh, very, very strong.
Alacrity is pretty damn strong. I can actually hit the boss normally now. Damn it. Get the ball out for more. Valor, what were you gonna say?
Oh
Sorry?
boy, I fell off. Yeah, I was just gonna say. What was I gonna say? It goes back to. I forgot now.
It's okay. It's alright. I think
If I remember, I'll say it.
while I'm speaking, maybe you'll remember. But like there is so in PvP, for example, and in raids to a degree, maybe more in PvP. I've got a build where I literally focus on the survivability of my mech, so that I can give boons to myself and allies, basically. As well as just actually, you know, because you get Avatar Amulet, you know, I use that, and it's pretty good damage wise, and I get like, you know, alacrity and all the things, so it's not too bad anyway. But like, I damn really are having some problems. There we go. It's okay, this boss is weird. But like, yeah, the alacrity is a bit much, I feel, at times.
I can get 100% uptime on alacrity for the entire match of a PvP game.
Yeah, it's a bit broken because you just need to give someone barrier. That's all you need to do.
And also yourself. And
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
the mace, once again, connecting to Spectre as well, it is interesting that they paired these two up, with Spectre being very focused on single target barrier, while they are giving Mechanist easy application of AoE barrier. And if you trade it, that barrier gives them alacrity. So
Yeah.
it is an interesting decision. If I saw that, I probably would change the mace to just do self and golem barrier and not affect allies, because it's so on demand.
It's mace is an awesome weapon. I guess, yeah, on demand. I guess because the thing is, Mesmer alacrity is really, really easy as well. Like on staff, right? It's not that difficult. You just need to get dodge. I guess you need energy, right? Because you just got Mirage. Sorry, is it Mirage? Yeah, like that easy alacrity. I guess that's just as easy. So I guess there is kind of an argument for that. But I suppose maybe they don't want you to not be able to access these boons very easily, because they might
Mirage
be kind
doesn't
of.
apply barrier.
It doesn't. That's true.
It's
That's
the
true.
double up of like
Yeah,
strong
yeah.
defense of preventing damage being done, and then giving an extremely valuable boon.
It does okay damage though, right? I can't remember how much damage I did really on my. I didn't do much damage as a support thingamajig specifically, but yeah, I get what you mean. How do we
I
feel
was
about
really
Mace?
surprised with the mace.
Yeah. Let's go on to Mace. Mace is very fun in PvP specifically. I love that. It's also got a lot of CC on it, from the third skill. Well, I guess it's not a lot of CC, but like, you know, it's got vulnerability on second ability. It's got vigor as well.
I mean, you have access to the shield.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's true.
it does have a lot of CC on it because you have 2 more CC skills that you can take with it.
And plus, if you take certain trait lines, you can now grant area of effect protection.
Yeah,
and
that's a big
shield.
one.
So it can be a really strong boon support spec.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you do with Scrapper and raids. That's what I've been playing a lot on my build. So I actually don't take alchemy a lot anymore, because like the alchemy is a lot of support and condition removal. Obviously, like buffing your elixir gun, and it buffs your elixirs and whatnot as well. So it's like you can take shield and you can remove conditions, because you can, when you apply protection, you can remove conditions. So that's what I've been doing with my mech. I've just been like condition removing and healing my mech while it does damage. And also Mace does good damage. It does actually do relatively good damage.
It does feel a little sad that they have, while Mace is really great, it's just like another melee weapon.
Yeah, I'm fine with Mace as being like a thing. I mean, technically it's got a mid-range, like it's got 600 stun, so like the stun isn't too bad. I feel like the mech does your long range to a degree. I know it's not your like physical weapon, but I feel like that's okay. I would have been more sad if it was offhand. Which is, you know, what the teaser image inferred. It was like, you know, then they kind of just swapped it, didn't they? They just kind of gave you a different vision, like a different perspective. I was like, Jesus, that was pretty damn cheeky. Not gonna lie. Hey ho. What else to say about the Mechanist? I think I'm kind of just okay with it. I'm fine. Like, I'm personally happy as an engineer main. The Condi damage feels nice as well and fun. I like the amount it focuses on bleed quite heavily. Like, it's pretty brutal. The alacrity is really, really fun to have on yourself and your mech because the mech abilities come back pretty damn quick, so you feel like you're always firing off abilities. I do need to get used to the whole managing a pet thing because its AI is all over the place right now. For sure.
The AI, yeah. It's got an incredibly long leash.
Yeah.
It won't stop attacking if you move away.
Yeah.
And also, as you're just moving throughout the world, it like glides in a very large area around you.
It's like pets in PvP. Pets in PvP seem to wander forever. I find it. For me, a lot of the time, I'm like, you know, the ranger's sitting at mid and I'm like firing a pet at close point randomly and it'll just be there for a while. Until it gets called back. Sometimes I don't know if that's a bug, but like it
there is a pretty
like
consistent bug with the Shadow Step Signet. It quite frequently does not teleport your mech to the location.
Yes.
Which feels bad, man. Feels bad, man.
It walks over there. There it works.
Yeah.
It worked there.
There's some inconsistencies with that. I think they said that in the preview.
Okay. Oh yeah. Calvin used it, didn't he? And he was like, I don't know why I didn't pull through the thing, but like it's better. So yeah, that's just one of those things I guess that's gonna get fixed. What else was there? Yeah, I really do like that you can change these free abilities depending on what you go for traits wise. If I think about the traits as well, it's kind of obvious which way you can go with a lot of this, but also at the same time, you don't have to. Like if you go into PvP, for example, but well, I guess if you go into raiding, it's pretty much straight along the middle. There's a bug on the middle trait on the first line where you can have permanent 25 might stacks, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if they fixed that. I'm not running it at the moment just because I don't want that. But you know, there is quite a clear line, you know, having that Jade Mortis kind of be attached to explosives is cool, but at the same time, you really have to make a big decision because it is a condition ability as well with burning and attached to it, which is an interesting one. I mean, you can use it obviously you can use condition damage, you can use explosives with condition damage, that's fine. But
it's also a really good power skill. I mean, the Jade Mortar does like so much damage.
It's true. It really, really is. But then there's this trade-off between that and signets. So it's like signets. I've started using this more for PvP, I guess. And specifically,
the signet trait at first, I thought it was not that good, but it has so much self-synergy, especially if you're taking the alacrity.
Yes.
Because it's pretty insane.
It is almost like the mobility you can have if you just take shift signet is. You've got that blink a lot. You have that blink a lot of the time. And it's just like you have all your passives from the signets still as well. Whether or not you use them, you've still got movement speed, you've still got increased power, increased condition damage, increased damage reduction from Condi and power. It reduces
compare those tooltips to the Untamed tooltips. It's like that says like 3 different effects on one skill. Untamed is like blind.
Yeah. It's weird.
The mech has more pet AI features than the Untamed, which is supposed to be a very pet-focused spec.
Yeah, it almost feels like maybe Ranger could just be more about one pet than having 2, but just giving you more options on the one pet, maybe. I don't know, so that wasn't so much of a split. I feel like that's almost maybe what an initial issue was maybe with Ranger back in the day, because you got 2 pets at the same time and you got like 3 abilities on each, where everyone just have 1 and like give them 5 and maybe give them a little bit more versatility and a few more skills and whatnot that can cross over to other pets that they may use anyway. It just, I don't know, I feel like this is a really, I just like the fact that it's, and also like it can go down, and I actually don't mind having a break bar on
I
the mech.
love the break bar.
It's good because you don't have to kill
balances
it.
it, yeah.
Yeah, you do not have to kill it in PvP specifically. You can just break it, and that's good. If you've got AoE breaks anyway, and it's on a point and you're fighting, for example, and in PvE, it can die pretty quick, but you gotta really manage that thing. Because I was doing Veil Guardian and Creeper was with me, and like it was standing in all the pies all the time, and it was just getting wrecked. So I was like, damn it, I've got to pull it over to me, return to me, do the damage, then return to me again, pull off, you know, get my my support skill, sorry, for the traits. It was a bit of a nightmare to manage.
I think that's also bugged, because I thought that like back when they first started introducing raids, they like changed the code of bosses and mobs to not do as much damage if they're not targeting the pet. So I don't know if that carried over to the mech or not.
I mean, they're standing in AoE, so if they're standing in like big heavy AoE, I guess they still take quite a bit of damage. I mean, he kept dying, not as much as, you know,
But like the flesh golem will stay alive.
Yeah, true.
The entire fight.
Mesmer
So I
as
think
well.
it just might be bugged.
Maybe that's something different with mech then, I guess. Or maybe it's the CC. Maybe it's getting paid. It just seemed to die a lot.
Yeah, that sounds like a bug to me, because that's part of your kit. If you as a mechanist want to play in raids, you need your mech. So
Yeah, but then again, as long as you got good control over it, then like it's not too bad, because it's like an extra thing.
I would have to see how fast it dies and like what fights it's doing, honestly. But
You should have come earlier, Bunny Lord. You were not on time. You missed the thief conversation.
Bunny Lord, how do you feel about Bunny Thumper? I mean, Untamed.
There you go. There's some words in chat. You got Van to actually like directly like say hello as well. Look at that. That's a very special thing right there. I think we are probably done with talking about the specs. In all honesty, I don't know what else to add to NG. I mean, I think it's a lot easier to be. I think when you're happy with a thing, I sometimes I don't know what to say.
It's good when something is bad, because then there's a lot more criticism you can give to make it better.
Yeah.
But it's hard to make something better when you're already pleased with it.
Yeah, I definitely feel like, and maybe that it is quite strong right now, but I feel like that's a numbers game rather than maybe a cooldown time game rather than a specifically abilities wise. I think, you know, the mace is really like is a solid weapon. I think, you know, even I think Scepter on the I can't say it. Scepter on the Spectre is I feel like, you know, personally I kind of enjoy that, and it makes sense as a support weapon. I think on Untamed though, like Hammer makes maybe sense for what they're trying to do with the spec, which we were talking about being toughness, more like tanky and more bruisery. But yeah, I think Spectre and Mechanist probably 2 of my favorite out of all of them.
Yeah. I guess now we have all of the elite specs. We can like actually rank them and compare them in their beta formats.
That's another. I've got that. That's a planned podcast, but we can go with everyone's. I think we'll do that anyway. Everyone on stream, take note. All right, do we do top 4? Do we do top 3? Yeah.
Top 3 is good.
I think we do top 3. All right, we'll go from the bottom. There's Valen there. Valen, top 3 elite specs on your first, on just off playing the beta weeks.
Out of all 9?
Out of all of them, yeah.
Probably Bladesworn, Spectre, and I want to say I honestly want to say Willbender because that was just really undertuned. I feel like a lot of people are gonna really like Willbender, but I'm just gonna say Catalyst because I really feel like the same reasoning is because Catalyst has a lot of potential to it. If it gets, the changes it needs, I think Catalyst will be a lot of fun.
Okay.
Did y'all hear that?
Controversial. Controversial. Fair choice. Is it controversial?
Catalyst.
Let's find out.
Is it my turn? Oh.
Yeah, it is your turn, Griff.
Oh.
Thank you, Van.
Well, I would say Bladesworn and Spectre. And I think, objectively speaking, I would have to just say Mechanist.
Good
Those
Lord.
are the three specs that are
No
like...
one else said Mechanist. I'd literally just end the stream.
Yeah. I think those three could be put in the game like tomorrow. And just, they
Yeah,
function.
yeah.
They just need balancing.
Okay. H?
Same as Griff, Bladesworn, Mechanist, Spectre.
Bladesworn, really?
Those, yeah. So Bladesworn, I couldn't reliably do the dragon mechanic properly. I don't play warrior a lot in competitive sense.
Yeah.
But it's just it's a cool mechanic, and I like the versatility of it as well. Spectre, because and Mechanist just because it's a fun new mechanic. And I was really surprised how well it worked out and how fun it is. So
yeah, cool. Okay. Said Mechanist as well, so that's good. Valen is just the only person that sucks.
Damn.
But it's okay. Made up for it with Catalyst, I guess. Willbender as well. I was like, what? I'm joking. It's all subjective. It's our personal opinions, everyone. I'm just joking.
Wait, you really think Catalyst is bad design?
It's
no,
bottom tier.
I like Catalyst because it's kind of like Scrapper.
The Catalyst. Okay.
I think we just all feel bad.
Okay, you guys need to listen up because the
No,
Catalyst is actually
we're done
really
listening.
good. The Catalyst is actually really good because it enables the most amount of new play styles for different weapon sets. Because
you know what that was?
Because it's not just aura gameplay like Tempest.
Yeah,
it's
true.
Auras based on combo finishers,
Mm-hmm.
not just auras. So, like for example, on Tempest, you have to do a specific combo to get an aura, but as a Catalyst, you can do any finisher. So, for example, on the Scepter, the Earth 2 skill is a combo finisher projectile. Yeah. But that skill is never used in PvE because no one has a use for it. But now it gives out 5 projectile finishers. So you can just shoot out all of those while swapping through your attunements, getting all of your, aura, buffs once they tune the numbers up on the Catalyst. And that'll be really good. So that's making Scepter really good for Catalyst.
Here's the thing.
You've also got access to a lot of other playstyles, like in PvP, where you can't play Dagger Ellie because it has no sustain on it. But with Catalyst, you can go Dagger spec and actually have sustain on it.
Valen, I respect you highly, but
I know when as soon as you start with something like that, that's it.
You're allowed to have your opinion.
But
we'll see though. We'll see.
The thing with Catalyst, the traits are cool, but realize that you didn't even say hammer, jade spheres, or the augmentation.
The jade sphere is
entirety of the kit.
Those are the 2 things that need the most changes to them. You're correct, but it doesn't mean that they're bad inherently. It just means they need the most work.
Yes,
it does. All the well, that's the problem I have. I think it's the same as Griff. I do see the potential. Like the thing is that I think we all see the potential of it because there is not to put words in Age's mouth. Sorry, but I out of all of the specs in its beta week, I definitely was trying to work out Catalyst the most. Like I was still excited by this, the sphere, that was cool, and I was trying to work out the combos. I was definitely pulling out stuff for support builds, and I was trying to get auras going up and get the combo. The combo fields, I think you're right. From what Valen's saying, combo fields, it's a combo field heaven. That's Guild Wars 2 right there in the Catalyst. It definitely gives you that desire to want to, play around with things you haven't pulled out too much as well. I'm gonna die from this thing on me. And yeah, I think that's cool, but I think they've done too much they've got too much on their plate with Catalyst. I think they need to pull it back a little tiny bit and just be like, we've got this thing, let's focus on this a little bit, and then let's focus on the
Make it more
mechanic.
accessible.
Yeah, exactly. And I think especially the way arena are and the way gaming is now as well. We're talking about Dark Souls. If anyone's been thinking or seen anything about Dark Souls recently, that someone just literally completed it by pressing one button, by Morse coding the game basically with one button. But then right at the end, it was talking about accessibility options, talking about difficulty levels for Dark Souls. And whereas I believe that you can have games which are difficult, I think that every game in the world should have some accessibility, obviously to a point, because there are only so many people with certain conditions, but there should be games which are more widely available to other folks, and that's a good thing. Whereas I think a lot of these elite specs, their difficulty level, and I think Van's kind of said this again earlier as well, the difficulty level has ramped up a little bit more. There are classes which are a little bit easier to play, I believe. Mechanist is probably going to be quite simple, but there's intricacies within this which will, if you don't look after your mech, for example, you're going to screw yourself over. And I think Blade Sworn is going to be tough to play. I think Catalyst is going to be quite difficult to play. I think Willbender could have some fun survival issues in PvP maybe, but I think these are okay difficulty, because skill level and competitiveness is good to have, but I think generally all the specs I think are more difficult. And I think Thief is just going to be more difficult because it's a different play style to get used to for Thieves. So there's that. That's more of a learning thing. But my own my own personal top 3 guesses on the first one is going to be Mechanist. Second is Harbinger for me. Harbinger was fun.
Really?
Harbinger was so fun. I loved it. I felt like a bit of a thief. when I was in Shroud. I loved the gunplay. I love the gun as well, like just as a weapon. I just enjoyed that spec so much. Like out of all of them, I would even say that I maybe enjoyed it more than Mechanist.
What?
I know. Like I enjoyed Mechanist a lot, but like I really enjoy. It's because of the elixirs. It gave me my NG gameplay. Yeah, it was that NG gameplay. Pistol, rocket. I was like, I loved it, man. It was like, it just felt cool. It was fun. I didn't enjoy it more than Mechanist. I didn't. All right, I didn't legitimately, but it was close. All right. It was just some moments. There was just some of these moments. There's a moment I put out on, it was a short I put out onto my YouTube channel, and it was just this decision making of like, getting a res or not, and then using some of my specific abilities that just really helped in this PvP situation. I was like, I can see this being really fun in PvP. And then when you get those builds where you're just like, damn, this is just so fun, and you can really just change up a situation completely by like switching into Shroud and using this just one skill at the right time. It was just like, yeah, it just got me hype. Third is Spectre, for sure. Absolutely. Like Mechanist, Harbinger, Spectre. I think they're probably 3 of the most polished classes as well, in all honesty. Maybe some more work on Harbinger for a few things, but they're definitely. I think Blade Sworn is probably one of the most complete as well, probably more so than Harbinger. But like, the others, I see the potential in all of them as well. Thankfully, I don't think there's a class. I think Virtuoso, I'm just like, I don't play Mesmer. It looks boring to me. That's all. It's just not my bag. I don't think it's bad. I just think I'm not a massive Mesmer player. I can appreciate Mesmer though.
Virtuoso would be my 4th pick, honestly.
Yeah, cool.
I thought it was. I thought it was boring.
Yes.
But when I played it, it was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Actually, I think my 4th would be Vindicator, but I don't like the utilities. But on the topic of Virtuoso, it just needs a direction. It just needs to be like that long-range sniper Mesmer that it kind of is set up. It just needs more power. But Virtuoso, I don't know. A lot of people have not really vibed with the Virtuoso, which is interesting.
It could have been a bard. It could like I really wanted a bard. There should have been a bard in this whole elite specialization. There needs to be a bard in the next elite spec line.
There has to be. And now that we have like the gun saber, we can actually have like instead of shatters, you get another weapon similar to like what Warrior did, and you can actually have a harp that you play or some other musical instrument that you play.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I'd love a bard. We need that. Don't think we should go into the realm of the fourths though, because that might take us on much longer than I intend to go for this podcast for today. Is there anything else? Did we enjoy ourselves this week with the Elite Spec beta?
Mm-hmm. This was probably my favorite.
Yeah?
I'm excited for the fourth one.
Yeah, that's in
November. The fourth one's going to be the best, yeah.
Yeah, all of them. The mess is combined in this one glorious week.
Everyone's stacking up Harbingers and Spectres and Mechanists.
Yeah. We get Siege Turtle then too, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be pretty damn awesome, actually. Yeah, all of the specs. I feel like they should give it to us for 2 weeks. I feel like it should be more time. I feel like 2 weeks would be cool, just with everything and the turtle as well.
I'm surprised it's not an actual full week. It's more like 5 days.
Like 5 days. Yeah.
It should be a full week for this one.
Yeah. That would be cool.
I also would have loved to test actually like Xingje Island, but I don't think we've had any confirmation of that.
Heart of Thorns, we got to have an instance at the very least in the beginning of the first map.
We might not be able to test any of the maps this time around until the game actually launches.
They said one of the maps we would in their last preview, I think. Wasn't it?
I think we can walk around Xingje, can't we? Or is that?
I'll find it.
Thank you, playable race.
Because if they confirm that we'll be able to test like a small area of like Seitung Harbor, that's all I really want. Is just like to test a couple of the events in there and see how the enemies feel.
Do we think there's going to be a big surprise? I feel like there's still a big surprise. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I mean, they haven't gone over one of the mastery tracks. So I feel like that mastery track in particular, or they haven't even unveiled it. We got Arborstone Restoration, but there's still a fifth one that we don't know about.
True.
So you think that they would have that on the live stream schedule, but it doesn't seem like they do.
Well, we shall see. But for now, if we're not got anything else to talk about with these elite specs, we're going to end the stream. The stream's not going to end, but the podcast is going to end. Everyone gets to spend more time with me for a little bit longer just today. It has been awesome. Thank you very much. I'm a little bit sad because it's the last elite spec beta with just the free classes, so it's nice to have peeps on to talk and play about the specs, and I appreciate you all coming out as well, especially Age at the last minute. Thank you very much, legend.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. The week's been good. I hope everyone listening or watching wherever you are has also enjoyed it, and if you've been on Spotify, you've been able to watch the video, hopefully, if that's all been sorted and all been good. On YouTube, on Twitch, VOD as well, all the places. If you're on Google or Apple Music, all the different places, definitely give me some feedback if you've just heard the audio version of this and if it's been okay to kind of follow, even though you can't see what's going on sometimes. Well, no, at all, actually. There will be a link in the description for the VOD. Otherwise, we're going to do a little bit of an outro. Valen, tell us what you do, where you do it before we head out.
Yeah, just YouTube and Twitch. I usually stream testing out new ways of playing the game. Just find me by searching for Valen, Vallun.
There we go. Valen on Guild Wars 2. Do the figs. Growth. Tell us.
Hi.
Oh god. Not that standard.
Every time I open my mouth, the first thing that anyone says to me is, "Oh God."
It's because you do that. No, it's just the outro. It's just the outro every time. You're like, hello.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Crew. I do a lot of YouTube with Guild Wars 2, Elite Specs, my thoughts and impressions, lore stuff, just generally covering Guild Wars 2, and sometimes a couple other games. But the expansions are always lovely. I'm also here on Twitch Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays when I'm not asked to be on the podcast. But yes, thank you everyone once again. And I enjoy mustard.
Okay, thank you. H.
Hi. You could follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube at Age Night Road. I mainly my YouTube channel is mainly for Guild Wars 2, but I might post stuff every now and then. I stream about 2-3 times a week. Schedule is kind of random because of work, so you could just follow my Twitter if you want to watch me live. Mostly World Wars World roaming, if anything. Otherwise, I'm playing Apex. But yeah, that's all I got.
Okay. And everyone, if you do want to check out the stuff where this podcast is weekly on a Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific-ish, it's always after that time. So if you want to join us, 12 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. GMT, and also youtube.com/JebroUnity. Same on Twitch, JebroUnity. Same on Instagram, Facebook, all the things. TikTok is just my clips from Twitch as well, if you want to go and check out those. And yeah, do all the things. In the description, there will be partner links if they're partner. If not, there will, just go to their channels and support them any way you can. I would encourage you to do that. Also, there will be a link for everyone, whether or not it be YouTube or Twitch, on all of these places where you can listen or watch this. So go into the description of the video, of this track, whatever. Should be a link that you should be able to click on, at least copy and paste and chuck it into your browser and check people out. I would appreciate it very much. Otherwise, yeah, thank you very much for watching. Take care. And we'll see you next time on LightBringers, where that was the last Elite Spec beta week for free specializations. Sadness. But in November, there will be the final one. We will get to try all of the Elite Specializations out together, and the brand new mount. I'm very excited for this fact. We'll see you next time next week.
Shotgun.
Sorry?
I got shotgun.
You just ruined it. And you always ruin my outros, Griff. Every time. I was on such a roll there. I was like a whole presenter thing.
Rook isn't here. I have to carry.
Yeah. Carry the ruining of my outros. Thank you very much. Someone had to do it. See you next time on the LightBringers episode, God knows which one. We're getting close to 30 though. That's over a year and a half maybe. Thank you very much for watching. If you do want to support the podcast or myself, it's massively appreciated. I am a mental health counselor offering support to kids and adolescents on the west coast of America. So if you do want to do that, support the channel, do the things. Muchly appreciated. Thank you very much. See you next time. Bye bye. Wave if you want to.